Story time on the month-long relationship I had with a billionaire, part one. We're gonna call this man Harley. Last year, I was spending a lot of time on the apps because it was my first time actually being able to be single enough to be on the apps, and I met Harley on Raya. He was somebody that on the apps actually didn't have that he was a creator or a founder, because every single person on Raya has that they're a creator or a founder or a producer of some sorts, and this man actually didn't even have his profession on there. He just had his Instagram, and he ended up messaging me. We matched, and he was about in his mid 40s. He was very cute, like definitely was someone that you could tell was very handsome when he was younger, like 6 feet tall. He had a bit of like a little bit of a dad bod, but not too bad. And he was like very built in the arms and everything. And he just had sent me a very sweet opening message, basically talking about how he loved my energy and my smile. And I thought, why the hell not? We started messaging on Raya a little bit, and he was like, hey, I am going to be going to Mexico for some work next week, but I really want to meet up with you before I leave. I was not going to be able to meet up with him because I was really busy at the time. I was in the middle of looking for a new place in LA after the fires had happened, and I had just been living like hotel to hotel and everything, and he lived in some big fuck off mansion over in the hills of Encino. If you want to know what Encino Hills are, it is a very slept upon area of LA that has lots of very rich people, and it's more in the valley type area. He was like, okay, well, why don't you just come to Mexico with me? And I was like, okay. Still, I did not know what this man did. From his profile on his Instagram, it had just a lot of like very quirky quotes and things. It was like very clear that this man did not know how Instagram worked, because he had like little quotes on there like strive to be the best and shit like that. And then him with his friends eating at the Ivy, having lunch. And it was just kind of unclear what he did, but I could tell that the man had money, because he was like, you should just come to Mexico with me. I will have my private jet pick you up. Like just casually dropping the private jet thing. I was like, okay, let's like jump on a FaceTime and like figure this out, because I don't know if you're a scammer from Ghana and you're trying to kidnap me and sell me into some sort of weird sex slavery or whatever. So let's jump on a FaceTime and let's figure this out. One day I'm staying at a hotel in Silver Lake. I'm staying at the Silver Lake Lounge Hotel, which is a very cute and the only hotel in Silver Lake. And it's attached to the Polo Lounge. So there's like a little pool outside, and the rooms are really cute and kitschy. And I was just sitting by the pool in my little bikini, and he FaceTimed me. I answer, and this man was way more handsome on FaceTime than he was in his pictures. Like, it was very clear that his pictures did not do him justice. He had a full beard. He was wearing these really cute little framed glasses, white t-shirt and jeans, and he was sitting by his pool in Encino. We start chatting, and he's like telling me about his day, that he had worked out with his trainer, and then he was going to have his chef make him some lunch, and then he was figuring out his itinerary, and he had to go to Mexico because he was thinking about investing in this tequila company. He's like, I'm actually leaving today, but what I can do is, since you're going to be in LA working and everything, I can just have my jet come back and then pick you up and then fly you to Mexico to meet me there if that's what you want to do, because I'm going to be in Cabo meeting with this brand, so you can meet me there. Y'all, you know that your girl leans into the lore and just does things for the plot. So I was like, okay, sir, like this seems like a good idea, because we had chatted a couple days on FaceTime. I saw his information, and from his name, I was also able to Google him, and Google showed me that this man was a billionaire with a capital B. He actually was also a Nepo baby, and he had been married to a woman that is a public figure. So I knew that if I needed to come after this man, then I could find him, because there were all these different tabloids and things on him. So I knew that he was findable and verifiable. So Harley and I spent the next couple days FaceTiming, and I decided that it was trustworthy and that I was going to go to Cabo and meet this man. First time meeting this man. The day comes around, and he tells me that I don't even need to pack anything, because anything that I need we can get while we're there. And I was like, all right, bet King, don't tell me that, say less, because I will come up with a very empty suitcase so that we can do hella shopping while we're there. He sends me a black car to take me to the Burbank airport in LA, and I get there, and y'all, talk about you flying private, and you're just like, oh my God, I know that this is bad for the environment, but oh my God, this is so easy. You're just waiting in the little lobby. They come and get you. They don't even check your info or anything. They don't even check your passport. You literally just give them your name. They walk you to the tar pit. They walk your ass up the tiny little stairs into the plane, and you're there with your full ass staff. It was the sweet girl that was the flight attendant / cocktail waitress, and then you've got your pilot, and you're sitting there, and you get a menu that is just filled with the most delicious things. So I ordered one of everything. I ordered the Bellini drink, a caviar on toast with curdled eggs, frisee salad with lobster, and the clam chowder soup with uni. And I was living in luxury. We land at the Cabo airport. They haul my ass out, and as soon as I walk out into the airport, you're just surrounded by people being like, do you need a ride? Do you need a ride? It's a little overwhelming, but I look over and there's like a little man standing there with my name, Kat, waiting for me with his little driver hat on. He puts me in the black car and they take me directly down into Cabo. We're driving for maybe like 30 minutes to an hour, and Harley texts me and he's like, I heard you landed. I'll see you very soon at the villa. I'm like, okay, great. At this point, I don't know where we're staying. I was assuming it was going to be like Four Seasons or Waldorf or anything, because that's usually where the very rich people stay. But not when you're a freaking billionaire, okay? We pull up to this huge ass gate. They go to the intercom. The gate opens. It is a huge private villa with these tall, tan, very modern building-like structures. It's got a long pathway that on either side is water, full-ass staff, full chef's kitchen, right on the beach. It is called Grayscape Villa, and it is a private estate that is owned by James Perse, the fashion designer. And literally, y'all, this is where the Kardashians stay. It opens. I'm like, where the hell am I? We pull up. Huge, beautiful trees everywhere. It is the most gorgeous place that I have ever seen in my entire life. All open with lush tables, sand, very minimal decorations, and a staff of like 12 people just walking around doing God knows what, pretending like they're doing something, because honestly, you could probably get paid a lot of money just to be there to attend to a couple people that you really don't need that much staff there. And out walks Harley. He was wearing some little Hermes slides, some gray sweatpants, a white t-shirt, and chrome hearts glasses. And I was like, this man screams quiet luxury. I came out and he was like, nice to meet you, gorgeous. And I was like, good to meet you too. There are two staff members standing on either side of them, a woman with a tight little bun and a man that has a little comb over, and they're both wearing these vests that signify that they're staff, because everyone is wearing uniform there. The man has on his little tray champagne, a vodka martini, whiskey neat, and a glass of red wine. And he goes, I know that you said that these were your 4 favorite drinks, so I had them prepare them all so you can choose which one you'd like. See, this is the full service that we deserve, ladies. I look and I'm like, hell yeah. I'm like, well, I just had a long flight. And while I was on the plane, I had some really good Bellinis. So let's just keep the champagne flowing. I grab the champagne. I take a little sip. I look over at the woman with the tight bun, and she is holding on a tray, again, a little box. The sun was beaming on me, y'all. And I was kind of like going like this. And he goes, oh, did you need sunglasses? Because it seems like the sun is really in your eye. And I was like, I didn't bring anything with me, sir, because you told me not to. And he goes, good, I was counting on it. He looks over. The woman pulls open the box. It's a white box. Inside of it is a black box that says Gucci on it. I'm like, he opens it and he goes, I was pretty sure that my personal shopper was able to find the right shape and everything for your face because I sent them pictures, but he pulled out these shades. Yes. The man greets me with all my favorite cocktails and a pair of Gucci shades. I would say that this is the life for me. And I knew that it was going to be a very interesting time knowing this man. Puts his hand out to me and he was like, all right, let's go inside. I'm going to show you around and let's have the private chef make you some food. I was like, all right, bet, let's go. So y'all, part 2, the day spent with this billionaire, the rest of the month that I had spent with him in the next parts, and why it did not work out. I love you and I see you. Big hug, big kiss. Story time on the month-long relationship I had with a billionaire, part 2. We've left off. I'm in Mexico. This is our first day with the billionaire that I met on Raya. He's just given me a plethora of drinks to choose from and take to the face, and a pair of Gucci-ass shades. He's walking me around the villa. Y'all, this is the most expansive, beautiful villa that I have ever been to in my life. There is a reason that this was designed by James Perse, the very famous fashion designer. It was absolutely what I would picture is the epitome of calm, relaxation, and just absolute billionaire solitude. We're walking around and he's kind of giving me the lay of the land. He's like, okay, over here's the private beach. Here's the chef's kitchen and the table. I am taking it all in, y'all. And he's like, hey, listen, I have some meetings that I have to do over Zoom. Can you entertain yourself for a little bit? And then after I'm done with that, we can kind of hit the town. We can go do whatever you want to do. We can go to the beach. We can go and take out some 4-wheelers, and then we can go to a nice dinner. And then tomorrow's my actual meeting. So do you think that if I just give you my card, you can entertain yourself while I'm working? I'm like, sir, entertain me is never something you have to worry about when you are giving me a credit card with unlimited spending limit. Like, I can definitely find something to do here. Don't you worry about little old me. He was like, okay, great. He walks over inside to go to one of the bedrooms. I throw on my bikini that I had brought. I had literally only brought my toiletries, my makeup, and 2 bikinis and just like a couple casual wears because I knew that we were going to go shopping. And he had told me like, hey, we'll do all the stuff and then we can go into town. We can buy you a bunch of clothes or whatever it is that you need. I throw on my bikini and I walk out over to the ocean. It literally opens up the yard into the ocean. If you can call it a yard, it's just sand and an open like pathway. This house is just completely open. I walk out and there's 2 attendees just standing out there chilling. And they're like, hi, can we eat something to drink? I'm like, I just had a champagne and a wine, but yes, you know what? We're here. We're in Cabo. Like, let's have a margarita, right? They're like, great. Would you like us to play some music as well? I'm like, oh, do you think that it's going to bother Harley because he's working? And they were like, no, don't worry. The room that he's in is kind of soundproof. And then the music out here with the speakers, it's just going to be for you. I'm like, say less, king. The sweet man with the comb over, this was the same man that brought me earlier the drinks. And there's another girl with a very tight bun as well, but she's blonde and she's different. They're like, okay, we'll get you whatever you need. The dude hustles back there to make a margarita. I am just sitting there, you guys, halfway body in the water, just looking out and thinking this might be the best first date that I've ever been on. The guy comes back out with my margarita and he's like, would you like a snack as well? And now it's probably like 3 p.m. So I'm like, you know what? I could definitely do a little snack. And then I know that me and Harley are going to go to dinner later. So he's like, okay, what would you like? Like, we can make you anything. I'm like, don't say that, sir. And I was like, you know, we're in Mexico. Like, let's have some like chips and guac, a little snacky snack. He was like, oh, what about like some ceviche as well? I really suggest that. The fish is really fresh here. We can make you a really nice ceviche with avocado and some plantain chips and some tortilla chips. I'm like, absolutely. I'm sitting out there looking around and I'm just texting my girlfriends and my gays being like, y'all, I need y'all to see this view. I FaceTime one of my best friends back home in Texas and he's like, girl, where the hell are you? I'm like, look where I am. And he was like, bitch. So I'm sitting there and then I just feel like a hand on my shoulder. And I think it's the waiter. And I'm like, why are you touching me? But okay. I look back and it's actually Harley. And he's like, hey, beautiful. You enjoying the view? And I was like, hell yeah. And he was like, I'm enjoying the view too. I'm like, smooth, brother, smooth. And I was like, oh, I just ordered a little snack. And he's like, okay, great. He's like, well, I just wanted to check in on you, make sure that you're doing okay. We're going to be able to be done and able to just go into town and explore and get whatever you need probably in about 30 minutes. So you just like chill and relax and do what you need to do. It's going to be like 30 to an hour. I'm like, dude, I am fucking chilling. You ain't got to worry about me. And he's like, okay, I just want to make sure that you're taken care of and you're not bored. I was like, you really think that my ass or anyone of that matter is going to be bored looking at this exotic, beautiful sight before them? No. My waiter man with the comb over brings the whole dish over and I am just sitting there on my ass in the water in my bathing suit. It was like white with little cherries on it and red bottoms. And I was just sipping my margarita and thinking, I didn't used to think that I was a beach girl, but this has proved to me that maybe I was just at the wrong beaches previously because this experience has showed me that I'm absolutely a beach girl. 30 minutes to an hour passes, another hour and a half. I'm still waiting on Harley. And then one of the girls with the tight bun walks over and she was like, hey, Harley wanted me to come get you if you wanted to go take a shower and freshen up before you guys head into town. I'm like, absolutely. I'm like 3 margaritas deep in, y'all. I am feeling good. I walk in and she leads me over to the walk-in shower that has all these huge shower heads above. Walk in, I fit like 4 people in there. Walk in there, I'm like, well, you could sure have a party in here. And I use all the very nice Kiehl's products that are in there and equipped. I put on a hair mask. I put on a face mask, a little cucumber mask that was in there. I get out of my towel and I'm sitting in front of the vanity table, which also is next to the view of the ocean. And I am just like, I feel like I have never looked more relaxed, refreshed, and in my element. I put on just a little bit of moisturizer and I do my brows and then I just put like a little baby lip on, but that was it because we're out in the ocean and we need to be natural queens. I throw on this little slip dress. It's tan and it's just basically a very basic silk slip dress that's kind of like stops here and it's very 90s cut. My friend makes them from Shop Shawnee. She makes all the best slip dresses if you ever need one. It's slinky and it's long and it probably hits about mid-calf and I throw on some slides, some little tan slides. I walk over, my hair is wet and I put a little bit of sea salt spray in it because we are going to be an island girl. I walk out and Harley is standing over there and he has now changed into some little khaki shorts and he is also in his Hermes slide still, his white t-shirt. And he has now changed his frames to another frame, Garrett Light. I'm like, hi. And he's like, hey, look at you. It looks like you got some sun. You look more freckly. And I was like, I hope so. And he was like, you ready to go into town? And I was like, absolutely. So we walk out and the driver is there. We get into the car And he's like, okay, what would you like to do? He's like, we can go shopping. We can go four-wheeling. I was like, I want to do shopping, four-wheeling, and then I want to go get a really good bite to eat. And he was like, your wish is my command. Dude drives us over to a little stand. And at the stand is a bunch of four-wheelers and some little Vespas and everything. And Harley's like, are you sure you don't want us to just like drive around? Or do you really want to do the four-wheelers? I was like, honey, I want to do the four-wheelers. And he was like, adventurous girl. I was like, yes, obviously. We look out and the two men there's a short one and a tall one. The short one is like, hello, welcome. You guys are here, Americans. And we're like, yeah. And they're so sweet. Harley's like, do you want to take a Vespa or do you want to take a four-wheeler? I'm like, buddy, I'm taking a four-wheeler. And the guy's like, do you guys want to ride together? And Harley's like, we ride together. I was like, sir, no, I want my own. And he was like, you know how to ride these things? I'm like, yes, absolutely. I was like, I know how to ride a motorcycle. And he was like, wow, okay. I'm like, yeah, no, I want my own. And he was like, love that, love that. I'm like, yeah, come on now, get off my ride. I'm driving. I don't want you backpacking on me. Like, what the hell? He's like, okay. He decides that he wants to take a Vespa. And he's like, yeah, I have a bad back, so I'm going to take a Vespa. I'm like, I don't know how that translates, but okay. We get our little four-wheeler. The tall man is like, hey, just so you know, just be really aware of your surroundings. We're like, okay, great. Harley's like, okay, we're going to take the ATVs down near the beach. And then after that, we can go back to the car and then we can jump in and we can go to the mall and do some shopping and figuring it out there. I'm like, okay, great. We're taking it from the little stand over to the beach. Now, the way that the street is here was the little stand. Here's the street. You have to go on this little street to the beach over here. I'm going down, right? After this warning about being careful. But you know what, y'all? Your lady, she lives for the lure. She likes to go fast. I speed off. Harley is behind me. I'm like, I don't know where I'm going. So I slow down and I turn around. I'm like, hey, can you go in front? Because I don't know where I'm going. And he was like, yeah, absolutely. He gets in front of me. He's kind of leading the way. And as I'm going, I see that there's like a little patch of trees and stuff like that over here in a street. I'm going and I literally, y'all, look down for maybe 10 seconds because I had my bag in my lap and I wanted to try to put it onto one of the little handles. I looked down for a second and I just feel the front of my four-wheeler crash into something and I go like this, boom. I'm like, what the hell? I look up. I have run into the back of a truck that has a big wagon on the back. The back of the wagon has a scratch on it, and part of the bumper is a little bit off, and part of the bumper of the four-wheeler is a little bit off. And I'm like, oh, fuck. I turn over onto the side. I pull over, and Harley has not seen that I have stopped. The truck pulls over, and the woman driving it comes out, and she's furious. She is this 4'11" woman in an oversized tee that has one of those fake naked bikini bodies on it. One of those, yeah, and some oversized shorts. And she is with her son and she is mad and she starts yelling at me in Spanish. And I don't speak Spanish. I was like, oh no. I'm like, un momento. I call Harley. I'm like, I've had a little accident. And he's like, what? I'm like, can you come back? He's like, okay. I'm looking at the damage. Honestly, her truck was not bad. It just had like a little scratch on it. But the front of the bumper of the ATV was a little bit mushed. And I could not believe that in the 10 seconds that I looked down that I had run into the back of this woman's. I don't know where she came from or anything, but I was just like, what happened? Harley comes over and he's like, what happened? I'm like, I don't know. I was literally driving. I looked down for a second and she was there. She's yelling at him in Spanish now. He's like, okay. Telling the woman, he's trying to point that the stand where we got the ATVs is literally 10 feet to 20 feet down. And we just need to go back a little bit so that we can talk to the men there because they can translate because they speak English. She's like, no, policia. She's like saying she's going to call the police. And I'm like, oh my God, we're not going anywhere. The son is in the car and I'm like thinking, okay, he looks young, so he probably maybe speaks a little bit English. So I go to the side. I'm like, hey, buddy, do you speak English? And he goes, a little bit. And I was like, can you come and tell your mom that we're not going to run? We just need to turn and go back to the stand over there because this is owned by those people there and then we can figure this out. And he's like, yeah. I'm like stressed. I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe that I am already in an accident. I just met this man. I get onto my busted ass ATVs. They follow us back to the stand. We drive up and my homie over there is like, what happened? And I'm like, I made a little boo-boo. And he's like, what? I'm like, look. He looks at the front and he's like, oh, okay. He's not bothered. He's like, okay, that's not bad. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm like getting stressed, right? I'm like, I'm sorry. I feel really bad. Like, is her car really bad? They're looking at everything. I hadn't seen the car before, so I don't know what her car had looked like beforehand. I didn't take a good look at my ATV, so I didn't really know what it looked like beforehand. I mean, it was already kind of old and stuff, but I don't think it had the little like front of it was just like a little bit off. I'm like, oh my God. Harley's like, hey, babe, it's okay. How about this? why don't I give you my card? There's like a little restaurant fruit stand bar across over there. Why don't you go there, get yourself a drink, have a snack, relax. I'll handle this. I was like, wait, no, but I'm the one that did it. And he was like, no, I know. Like, but don't worry. Let me just handle it. Like, this is what I do. I'm like, hot. I take his black card. Y'all already know. I'm looking at it and I'm like, ugh, these things are always heavy and they always feel right. Take the card. I walk about maybe like 25 feet to a little stand. It's like a little stand that's definitely targeted towards Americans because it's like margarita, cerveza. I saddle up. The beach is right behind. And I'm like, can I have a big ass margarita? He's like, oh, would you like passion fruit or mango? Because I have both. I'm like, I will have a passion fruit mango mix. Because you know what? I just got into a car wreck. I'm just sitting there eating like the peanuts there. I want to say maybe like 20 minutes. Like it was not long at all. Harley comes back up. He's like, well, let's retire the ATVs for today. What do you say that we get back into the car and have him take us into town and go shopping? And I was like, what happened? I'm so sorry. He's like, oh, don't worry about it. Apparently, this is something they do with the tourists where they wait for people to hit that corner and then they slide right in front of you very quickly and then let you purposely run into them. I was like, oh, shit, really? He was like, yeah, those guys were telling me that it's like a very common scam. I'm like, oh, shit. Well, I mean, I definitely still ran into them. So you still had to pay, right? So that they didn't call the police. And he was like, yeah, I still had to pay. And I was like, oh, no. And he was like, yeah, it was kind of expensive. I'm like, what? I'm like, oh no. Like in my brain, I'm like, I know you're a billionaire, but I feel bad for costing you money because you're saying that it was really expensive. Then it must be expensive. He goes, yeah, it was 179 pesos to the woman and 1798 pesos to the guy for the ATV. I'm thinking like pesos to conversion. I don't know how much that is. I'm like, is that a lot? Like, I don't know what the conversion rate is here. I don't know if the conversion rate is worse here or worse there. Like, I don't know if it's actually more in dollars. I have no idea. He starts laughing. He goes, relax, beautiful. I'm totally joking with you. 179 pesos is $10. And 1,798 pesos or whatever it was, he was like, is $100 for the ATV. I paid $110. I'm like, oh. And he's like, yeah, I was just messing with you. He's like, everything's really cheap here. And honestly, like, she was just happy that I didn't call her out and actually get the police on her because she was scamming you. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he's like, don't worry about it. Like, we're totally fine. I'm like, great. I finished up my margarita. Now I'm 4 margaritas deep, y'all. And I am just having snacks. I am feeling like a bobblehead and I'm feeling good. He takes my hand and he leads me over back to the black car. We get inside and he tells the driver to take us to the mall. And he was like, yeah, we can go there and you can get an outfit for tomorrow because we were only going to be there for one night. Like I came, we are going to be there that night. And then tomorrow was his meeting. And then we were leaving that night back onto the plane back to LA. And he's like, I'm not really into shopping, but this is what you want to do. Like we can definitely do that. I'm like, absolutely. I love shopping. He's like, oh yeah, you're a girl. I'm like, I know. We're in the car, and something that I noticed about him is that he is very, very quiet-natured. He is very sweet, and he has got this deep, gravelly voice and is definitely very introspective, but he does a lot of observing. And he would just sit there and like observe me. And I'd be like just chatting away, being me, right? Like, la, 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 this. I'm like asking him questions, asking about his life. And when he starts telling me, he's like, I do a lot of investments. And he's like telling me that he grew up in Beverly Hills with a very rich, very absent father. His father suffered from a stroke in the past 5 years. Because they had a very tumultuous relationship, he never really got to confront his father about the treatment that he gave him growing up. And so now he goes and visits his dad in his big fuck off Bel Air mansion and basically has to visit him. And his dad has a round the clock staff of people taking care of him. He's like, yeah, the worst part is that my dad was never around when I was growing up because he was always working. He was not a good father. He had a very bad temper. He was an alcoholic because he was dealing with the stress of his job because his dad apparently is the #1 manufacturer of a certain material. And so therefore that's how he made his billions. And then he left all that when he had his stroke. He left the whole business to Harley. And so now Harley is running the business that his father had started that he resented because it took his father away from him. And so he was telling me that he was trying to make investments on his own to things that he actually cared about to try to get away from his father's legacy. I'm like, this is really interesting. I'm like, tell me more about this, tequila and stuff that you are funding. And I'd love to know more about the things that you fund and the things that are important to you. To the mall. And he was like, absolutely, I'd love to tell you. He gets a phone call. He looks down. He's like, hey, I'm so sorry. These are the people that I'm meeting with. He's like, here, I'm going to give you my card. Why don't you go in there, look around, get the things that you want, and then I'll just be in here because I don't like shopping anyways. So why don't you take like 30, 45 minutes, go over there, get what you want, and then you just meet me back in the car because I'm just going to be in here taking calls. I'm like, oh, you're not going to go in with me? And he was like, I told you I really don't like shopping and I really need to take this call. I'm like, okay. Y'all, he hands me the black card and tells me that I have 45 minutes to go and buy the things that I want. Game on, bitch. So Part 3. My shopping spree. I'll show y'all all the things in the next video that I bought during that shopping spree, and the rest of the trip in Cabo, which culminated in me actually attending the investor meeting with him the next day and helping him lock down the deal. Part 3 coming up. I love you and I see you. Big hug, big kiss. Welcome back to my series, My Month Long with a Billionaire that I met on Raya. If you haven't watched 1 and 2, go ahead and watch those first and then get back to me here. Last we left off, we had pulled up to the hour-long drive after to the new mall, and we were in Cabo, and the billionaire man, Harley, was like, okay, well, I'm going to take some calls in the car. You can go with my card in there, and then I will meet you back here after like 45 minutes, and then we will go back to the hotel because it was probably like an hour from the villa, so we needed to go back and beat the traffic, go have some food, hang out, and then we had that investor meeting, or he had that investor meeting the next day. But I ended up attending, and we'll get into that. I walk out, and we're near the harbor, we're near all the water, and so there's like all these like little ships at dock, and then there's the luxury mall. I walk out with my slip dress and his card in hand, and I am ready to spend some money, y'all. I walk in, and the mall is nice, but unfortunately Cabo doesn't have the best luxury shopping, so don't worry, y'all. If this feels like an underwhelming shopping haul, once we get back to LA with this man, trust me, he's going to spend the real money, so we will get to that. I walk in, and there's a lot of places like Mont Blanc, Victoria's Secret, there's a Lacoste store, and then just like some other stores that I didn't heard of that were just local to Mexico. I knew that I only had like 45 minutes, that I needed to get an outfit for dinner that night, that I needed to get an outfit for the next day, since we were only staying there for a day, and then I was just going to try to spend as much other money as I could while in there and getting accessories and cute things. I walk into a store, it's called like Purification Garcia. I ended up getting 2 dresses there. I got this long maxi flower dress, and then I also got this strapless black dress. I walked in, the girl barely greeted me, and I was just pulling shit off the shelves, y'all. She was like, oh, can I get you a dressing room? And I was like, yes, absolutely, I need to. Quickly, I'm on a time limit, and I need to spend as much money as possible. And she was like, okay, got you. I brought those 2 in. I tried them on. They fit great. I tried on a couple other items that didn't work out. So I just got these 2 items and I walked out. I knew that I really wanted to get like a little bag while I was there. I saw that they had a Longchamp store. So I ran in there because I knew that I wanted one of those little baby Longchamp bags that everyone had at the time that was like blowing up on TikTok. So I wanted to get a baby pink one specifically because I knew since I was in Mexico, I wanted like a little blush pink situation that could just fit everything that I wanted, because y'all, your girl is a baby purse girl. I walk in and the girl's like, hi. I'm like, hi, I was wondering if you had the little baby Longchamp and if you had it in a dusty pink, because I saw this one online. And she was like, oh yeah, let me go look. She walks back there and she's like, okay, yes, we have 1 left. I'm like, hell yeah. She bags it up for me and I am on my way. I am furiously and fast walking, y'all, in there. There's a lot of tourists in there. I'm hearing all different accents and people from different areas. And I see this store called Cray. It looks like a very cute boutique. And so I walk in there and I see that they have a lot of different cute dresses and 2-pieces. So I ended up snagging this little 2-piece that was like pretty expensive for being just this tiny piece. I think it was like $400, but it was like locally made. All their stuff is locally made from Mexico. I'm looking for like a luxury store, y'all. I see like Swarovski. I don't see a jewelry store because I was like, maybe I want to get a piece of jewelry. And then I see the MAC store and I was like, oh yes, she's a MAC girl. I run in there and I end up getting a bunch of lip liners, some lipstick, some eyeshadow, and some powder. And as I'm like walking out of there, I'm trying to look and see what other stores I can hit really quick. And Harley texts me and he's like, hey, beautiful, I'm really sorry, but we have to go. I was like, all right, it's fine. This man will spend more money on me later. Probably, I want to say, spent around like $700 to $800 in there. I walk back to the car and I get in and he's smiling and he's like, did you get everything you need? And I was like, absolutely. He was like, so what stores do they have in there? And I'm kind of telling him and he was like, oh, he's like kind of disappointed. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought they had better stores in there. I'm like, it's okay. I like got some dresses and some outfits, so I have everything that I need for us to make it until tomorrow. And he was like, okay, when we get back to LA, I'm going to take you to some nice designer stores and we'll get you like some proper stuff. I'm like, say less. We're driving back. It's about an hour back and he's basically on the phone the whole time, just like business calls and everything. And what I'm noticing is that he is incredibly calm and an avid listener on these business calls. He lets the person talk a lot. He asks very small questions and he just kind of like agrees and just very mindful of the things that he asks and lets the other person talk a lot. Like I heard him going like, and like, yeah, only a couple times. We get back to the villa and I'm like, ugh, this view will never cease to amaze me. And it's kind of getting cooler now. And he's like, hey, should we grab a drink? And then we can have the chef make us some dinner and then we can head to bed because I have to be up for this investment meeting very, very early at 7 a.m. in the morning. And then, we can figure out what you want to do tomorrow. I'm like, great. The chef's like, what are you thinking? I'm like, I kind of want like an array of things, because I don't know if I want like a burger or fajitas or tacos or what. And Harley's like, okay. And he tells the chef just to make like a couple things. One of the tight bun girls makes me a margarita, and then she gets a Modelo for Harley. We go out and we're sitting on the lawn chairs next to the pool, and we're just kind of chatting. And he's like, I've never done this before. And I was like, done what? And he was like, flown a girl out as my first date to meeting her. I'm like, what? There's no way. And he was like, no, I'm very distrusting of people. I do not trust people. He was like, I'm actually like a little bit paranoid. I'm like, really? And he was like, yeah, well, when you grow up the way that I do, you are always second guessing what people's intentions are with you. But I really loved your energy, and I just felt a connection with you. And I felt like you ask a lot of questions, and you're very chatty and intuitive. And I love that you're not on your phone all the time and you're very present. And I was like, that's a very sweet compliment. Like, I really appreciate it. He was like, I've just kind of had a very difficult life. I've had a lot of trouble in my relationships because of my relationship with my father. And I've just had a lot of trouble maintaining relationships with women because of the fact that I don't always know what they're trying to communicate with me. It takes me a lot to try to understand them. And I was like, well, what was it like with your previous relationships? Like, he doesn't know that I had Googled him, y'all. And he's like, well, I was married previously in my early 20s and it didn't work out. I was in a 7-year relationship with a younger woman. We broke up 9 months ago. And I was like, oh, okay, well, what happened? And he's like, she was very, very jealous. It was a very tumultuous relationship. I gave her everything. I threw her parties all the time. I wanted to make her happy. I got her plastic surgery. I got her boobs done for her. I got her lips done for her. I got her new teeth. I bought her dogs. I bought her paintings. I bought her all these different things in our house together. And she just was never happy. She wanted to go out and party all the time, but anytime I wanted to step out of the house, she would throw a fit and a rage, and she had a temper on her. And unfortunately, I don't do well with someone that has a temper because of the fact that I grew up with a dad that has a temper. So if someone is yelling at me or doing confrontations with me, I immediately shut down and I just go into nonverbal. He's like, what about you? What about your previous relationships? I was like, well, I was married in my early 20s. It was to a man that we were together and got married a lot faster because he needed a green card. We were legit, but then he ended up cheating on me with everyone. If y'all want to know more about that, that is my Who the Hell Did I Marry series, which you can find in my series playlist. Trust me, that one is a wild ride. The food comes, and y'all, the chef had made burgers, a quesadilla, and some chips and guac for us. I was like, ready to munch. So we're sitting there by the pool, we're just eating and chatting. He's having his like little Modelo. One of the staff members walks over and brings him a little round tray of pills. He was like, oh, thank you, Macy. Y'all, this woman works for the estate. She does not work for Harley. So I thought it was very interesting that she was giving him his pills. And I look at him and he looks over at me and he was like, oh yeah, I just have take some medication things that I have to take on the daily. I'm like, oh, is everything okay? Are like they vitamins and stuff? And he was like, yeah, it's just stuff that just like keeps my head on straight. I'm like, okay, keep this in mind, y'all. We finish eating and then he's like, hey, I really need to get prepared for this meeting tomorrow. If you don't mind, I need to go do some more work. Do you want me to put a movie on for you? Or do you want to go take a walk on the beach? Or like, what is it? I was like, don't worry about me. You go do your work. Like, I'll figure it out. I stayed for a little bit longer. I'm just kind of like talking with the staff and they're telling me about how James Purse started the place and how he has a whole line that is connected to the villa. There's like a boutique where you can buy stuff and everything in the place is outfitted with all things that he's created. It's very interesting. I'm talking to the comb-over man about how he got to Mexico because he tells me that he was a college student that was going to school in California and he ended up coming to vacation in Mexico and just loved it so much and fell in love with the girl and decided to stay and just surfs and just lives in Mexico and he just absolutely loves it. And I was like, that's really cool. I'm getting really tired by this time. I want to say it's probably like 9 p.m. and I know it's really early, but I had a long day of traveling. We'd done a bunch of stuff, so I decided to go into the room. There's 5 suites in this place, you guys. The one that I walked into, Harley's stuff was not in there. So I was thinking that he understood that this was the first night that we were hanging out and I was not going to spend the night with him. And so I had my stuff in the other room that wasn't the master bedroom and I didn't know where he was. I knew that he was in his room and the door was closed. So I was just like, okay, I guess he's working. And so I go into the room, big bedroom with that big ass, beautiful shower, lots of beautiful linens, very minimalistic, tan walls. And I am just like on my phone scrolling and I'm laying on the bed. And at some point, because your girl had had like 5 margaritas at this point, had been up all day, the sun had been on me, and I do get tired in the heat, I fall asleep. The next thing I know, I'm being woken up and I feel something against my back. And I'm like, what is that? I kind of look over and I see that it is Harley. He is spooning me from the back and smiling at me. And I'm like, whoa, brother. I immediately like roll over the side and I'm facing him now. I am very clear about expectations before I do anything like this. And before, when we had spoken, I was like, I just want to make very clear expectations that you are bringing me there with no ulterior motives, and know that I obviously know that you're interested in me romantically, but I need you to take things at my pace. Know that you providing an experience is not you buying my body, and that is just where I am. And he was like, absolutely. He was like, I just want to spend time with you. I don't expect anything to happen, and I just want to have a good time with you and see where this goes. I'm like, great. So when I turn and I look at him and he's smiling at me, I'm like, sir, what are you doing? And he was like, hey, you look so comfortable. And I'm like, okay, well. And he's like, does it bother you that I'm here? And I was like, look, this is our first night and I would like to sleep in the bed alone. And he was like, oh, you don't want to snuggle? You don't want me to sleep next to you? And I was like, I haven't decided if I want to sleep in the same bed with you. So he's like, well, we don't have to do anything. And I was like, I know that I don't have to do anything, but I think that I would prefer to sleep alone tonight, and then we can figure out how I'm feeling after we've spent a little more time together. And he was like, oh, we don't have to do anything. We'll just sleep. Like, I'll just lay here with my hands to my sides. I won't touch you. I'm like, I have to pee because I just woke up. So I look at the time and it's now like midnight. I go into the bathroom, I shut the door. I'm peeing for maybe, I want to say, y'all, like a minute or 2 minutes or however long it takes you to pee. I open the door. I look over on the bed and he is facing the other way now in the bed. I walk over and I notice in the shadow of the night that his shoulders are shaking. I'm like, what? I'm like, hey, y'all, I hear, is this motherfucker crying? I look over, I go, Harley, are you okay? And he goes, yeah. I'm like, are you crying? He starts heaving, y'all. Heaving. This grown 40-something-year-old man is bawling in the bed. I walk over to the side of the bed that he's facing. I look down at him. His glasses are still on. They're all foggy, and he has tears running down his face, and the man is sobbing. So, yes, y'all. Things are going to start to unravel quickly. Don't worry. There is going to be more money spent and more good times had, because I am with this man for a very, very long month. And it is a very up and down relationship. So stay tuned. Part 4. Why is this man crying? We're starting to see the red flags. What happens when we get back to LA? And all the rest. Stay tuned. It's going to get wild, y'all. Story time, my month with a billionaire that I met off Raya, part 4. We are now left off, and this man, this grown-ass man, is bawling in the bed next to me, y'all. I am looking at his foggy-ass glasses. His Garrett-like glasses are all foggy and tear-stained. His white t-shirt is soaked, and he is sniffling like a damn fool. And I am like, I am not sure what to do here. I am just kneeling next to the bed, and I'm going, Harley, what is going on? Why are you crying? Like, are you okay? I'm like petting his arm, right? And he is bundled like this, y'all. Y'all, I was like, the ick is real right now. Like, I don't care how much money the Heats man has, but the ick is icking right now, because I don't know how in the 1 to 2 minutes that I left you to go pee, that I said that I didn't want you sleeping next to me, that you suddenly had a crash out. Are you crashing out because I didn't want to sleep next to you? Like, what's going on? I'm like, hey, what's going on? Like, just talk to me. He suddenly springs up and he goes, I'm sorry you have to see me like this. He shuffle walk runs. So he's like, dee, 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 looking like Charlie Brown doing a fast walk, back to his room and slams the door. I am like, what just happened here? I am very confused. I am like, okay, well, I could either go to find this man and see what's going on. I can go to sleep and try to see what's going on in the morning. I decide that I'm going to give it like 10 minutes to let him cool down, and then I'm going to go and check on him. So I walk into the kitchen, I get some sparkling water, and I am just sitting there with my thoughts thinking, what in God's name is going on? Because you know what? It is very clear that no one was without their problems, and this man is clearly too rich and has too much trauma to not have something going a little batshit up here. So we're going to see what's going on here, and we are going to try to navigate this, because I am in another country with this man that just has had a crash out. Thank God there's a full-ass staff here, and I know everything about him, but we got to figure this out. I give it about a 10-minute beat, and I go back over to the door, and I'm like, knock, knock, knock. Harley. Knock, knock, knock. Harley. I'm like, hey, are you okay? I look at my phone. I texted him. I'm like, hey, I'm right outside the door. Can I come in, or do you want to talk? Let me know what you want to do. Otherwise, I'm going to go to sleep and we can talk in the morning, but I just want to make sure that you're okay. He texts me back and just writes, good night. Okay, so you're not gonna explain anything, and clearly you just want to be left alone. So I will give you the space that you need because I am not the bitch that is gonna keep crying if you say that you need your space. I'm gonna go get my beauty sleep because mama ain't got time for this. I go to my bedroom and I crawl under the covers, these sweet, sumptuous James Purse covers, feeling like luxury and just silk on my body, and I fall fast asleep. The next day hits. I had fallen asleep really well because obviously I had like 4 margaritas that day and I had had a nap, and your girl can sleep anywhere, but I was not feeling rested because I did toss and turn a little bit, being like, what is going on? I ended up waking up at like 6:30. I knew that he had a meeting at 7, and I just like had woken up at like 6 and was kind of just like moving around a little bit, and then I look over and I see on my phone that he hasn't texted me or anything, and I would figure that he had maybe texted me before he would leave. So I just kind of get up and I walk out the door, and I am smelling and seeing and just hearing all the wonderful luxurious senses to my ears and nose and eyes of just gorgeous, beautiful Cabo. I walk over to his suite and I see that the door is closed, and I'm kind of like, maybe he's getting ready, but I don't know what time he has to leave for this meeting or where it is. I am knocking on the door. I'm like, Harley, I'm like trying to figure it out. Some of the staff are out there and they're like, hey, can we get you some coffee? Can we make you something, some breakfast? I'm like, oh yes, I would love like the biggest coffee that is known to man because I need it black, I need it good, and I need it to be strong like my soul. And also, have you guys seen Harley? And they're like, no, he hasn't been awake yet. I'm like, what is this man doing? I'm texting him. I'm like, good morning. What time is your meeting today? Wanted to check on you and all that stuff. I'm looking. It is now 6:35. I'm like, I walk over to the kitchen and the chef is preparing a freaking feast, y'all. He's preparing these beautiful eggs, fresh fruits, fresh bagels, fresh bread. Just this gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous spread with bellinis and mimosas and literally all the Perrier and beautiful things that you could drink and eat. I'm like, I really need to invest in a private chef when I am filthy ass rich because this is the life. I'm like, wow, this is a lot of food for just us. And he was like, oh, no, this is like for the investor meeting. I'm like, oh, the investor meeting's here. And he was like, yeah. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that it was going to be here. And he was like, yeah, everyone will be arriving in about like 20 minutes. It's probably going to be like 5 or 6 people. I'm like, oh, okay. So Harley didn't tell me that. And I was like, have you seen Harley? And he was like, no, I don't believe that he's been up yet. I'm like, oh, shit. So I did not know that the investor meeting is there. I'm like, oh my God, I hope that Harley is awake and alive. So I run over, I'm knocking on the door, I'm calling him, no answer. I'm like, oh my God, did this man like die in his sleep? Like, where is he? I finally grabbed the Mr. Comb-Over man and I'm like, can you please help me? I can't get into this room and I need to wake Harley up. He was like, yes, I have a key to the suite. Like, let me go get it. I'm like, okay, great. He unlocks the door and the door opens, and in that room, it opened up to the beautiful skyline of the ocean and everything. And I just see a lifeless body in the bed covered by no less than like 8 mountains of pillows on top. His cell phone that is next to him on the beautiful little rattan side table is going off. It's buzzing. And I look, and this man is buried under the weight of luxury under all these blankets and pillows. I am like, Harley. I go over and I turn off the buzzer on his phone. Mr. Comb-Over is like, okay, I think you can handle it from here. I'm like, yeah, thanks, King. He walks out. I look over and I'm like uncovering this man, okay? And as I'm uncovering him, I am hearing signs of life, which is good. I'm hearing heavy, heavy breathing and snoring. Apparently this man can sleep through a freaking typhoon, because I look and he also has noise canceling headphones that wrap around here and an eye mask, and he is snoring like he is trying to alert the media that he is alive. I am shaking him. I'm like, Harley, I'm shaking him. I'm like, get up. I finally shake him. He goes, I take the ears off, I take the eyes off, and I look at him. I grab his glasses and I put them on his face. And I said, Harley, I need you to wake up. And he goes, what time is it? I was like, darling, it is 6:40. Your investors are going to be here in 20 minutes. You need to get up. You need to shave. Get your little ass in gear, and you need to get some coffee, and you bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, because these men are coming and they're going to want to sell you on this tequila brand, and you need to be there to represent them. He goes, what? And I said, yes, 20 minutes. And he goes, no, I can't do it. He takes the pillow, puts it back over his head. I'm like, sir, what do you mean you can't do it? You can't do what? You can't do life? You can't do the meeting? You need to be more clear. He goes, look at me. He goes, I slept like shit. I'm tired. I feel out of it. I can't do the meeting right now. I'm like, well, my darling, you're going to have to. Like, I don't know what to tell you. And he just sits up. I'm like, there are 6 people coming and they're all going to be here and you need to get your shit together. Like, you are a grown up. You're a grown man. You're a businessman. He goes, okay. I go, I'm going to have Mr. Comb over bring you a coffee, get in the shower, get your life right, shave, get your stuff put together. I will greet the men when they get here and I will make sure that they're entertained until you can come out there if you need a little bit longer. He was like, yes, please. He was like, I really, really need your help on this because I need to get my life together, but can you just please entertain them until I can come out? I'm like, dude, that's my specialty. Like, don't you worry. He's like, thank you so much. I run my little ass back to my room. I jump in the shower. I take a little hoe bath. We're getting the tits, pits, and the bits, y'all. You know, we're making sure that all the things are done. And I put some sea salt hairspray in my hair. I do a little blow dry, crunch, crunch. And I throw that hoe up into a cute little messy bun. I throw on a long slip dress with the flowers and some little slides. I throw on a little bit of a cheek, some lips, eyebrows, and we are ready to party, y'all. I walk back out and I tell Mr. Comb over, can you please bring some coffee to Mr. Harley Stat and get this guy going? And he was like, yes. And I was like, and then I don't know what medication he takes in the mornings, but please make sure he takes those as well. He's like, copy. And I walk over to the chef and the waitresses and I was like, all right, team, here's what we're doing. They're like, yes. I'm like, the investors are coming in. Harley's going to take a little bit of time. So if we can try to delay these people, we're going to entertain them a little bit. We're going to make sure that they're happy, they're fed, get them a little tipsy. And then we can have them ready for when Harley comes out because he's going to need a little bit of a minute to get his life right. They're like, absolutely. I go over and I down my coffee. I look at the chef. I'm like, brother, he's like, let me make you a plate. I'm like, yeah, let me just scarf down some eggs and maybe even take a tequila shot so we can get this party and morning going. I was like, chef, you taking a shot with me? And he was like, okay, girl. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. Me and Chefy do a little cheers and a hurrah to our new entertainment merger together that we're about to do. I'm about to be hostess with Moses. We cheers, take that shot. I have some orange juice. I have some eggs. And your girl's ready to go. I'm just kind of standing by the table. I hear voices coming in and I know that the Tequila Dudes and Associates, they walk in, it's 6 dudes, and I meet the main guy who is the guy that created the tequila brand, and then his associates, 2 of his friends, and they're like, who are you? I'm like, I'm Kat, I'm Harley's friend, I'm just here visiting, and he's just taking a moment to get his stuff together. We had a little bit of a late night because I got in late, but let's start having some food, let's have some drinks, and let's kiki until this man gets up. They're like, great. We walk in and I'm kind of asking them questions about them. One guy's telling me about his tequila brand. His dad apparently started another iconic tequila brand, and this guy was starting his own thing. He was probably like in his 40s, around Harley's age. He was saying that Harley had actually met his cousin on a retreat, and then his cousin had introduced him to Harley because he knew that Harley was trying to invest in different companies, and Harley had tried his tequila at an event and really, really liked it. I'm like, okay, I'm really excited to try your tequila, sir. And he was like, well, I think you already did. And I look over and I realize that the tequila that the chef and I had taken was the brand, and it was really smooth and really good. And I was like, dude, it's really good. We're kind of laughing and stuff. And 2 of the guys that are just the friends that are probably around my age, they're like in their late 20s, or they're kind of like talking to each other and like looking at me, and I'm looking at them. And there's another gentleman there who he was like, I'm actually the cousin. I'm the one that was at the retreat with Harley. I'm like, oh, what was the retreat? And he was like, oh, it's just like a life retreat. I'm like, oh, okay. And he was like, and I just have to say, Kat, like everything that Harley said about you is true. You're really, really cool. You're very impressive. I'm like, Harley was talking about me? And he was like, yeah, I know that you guys were like FaceTiming for a while, and then you came down here and he was really excited that you were coming. And I was like, oh, that's really nice. 2 of the young guys that are over there that are just the friends of them, they're kind of chatting and looking at me. And one of the guys goes, oh, so you guys are dating? And I was like, we are talking, you know, like I'm here and we're hanging out, blah, blah, blah. And the one that knows Harley goes, yeah, Harley said that you're a model, right? I was like, yeah, that's right. And then one of the young dudes, the randos, goes, oh, so you do OnlyFans too? What? Before I can answer, I just hear a gravelly voice behind go, no, she doesn't do OnlyFans. And there's Harley, looking very put together, white t-shirt, as usual, black jeans, black Converse, and his Chrome Hearts glasses. And he looks pissed. So yes, y'all, part 5. Does he invest in the company? Why was this man crying? And more. It is gonna get spicy, y'all, so stay tuned. I love you and I see you. Big hug, big kiss. Storytime Part 5, my month long with a billionaire. So now we are in Cabo, and Harley has just heard this rando man from the tequila company asking me if I did OnlyFans or making an assumption that I do OnlyFans. And Daddy Harley is mad because he is using his big daddy big voice behind him, being like, no, she's not an OnlyFans girl. It is immediate that these men are here to kiss his ass. The two guys immediately, they were like, oh my God, Harley, what's up, man? No, we were just totally joking. Like, it was just a joke, blah, blah, blah. The dude that makes the joke tries to dab him up, and Harley just stands there and looks at his hand, and he ignores him completely, turns, goes and hugs his tequila maker friend, and then goes and hugs the young cousin. He shakes hands with the other two dudes and side-eyes the other guys. He walks over to me, and I'm just kind of standing there, and he grabs me, hugs me forcibly, turns and kisses me on the lips right here very hard. I'm like, oh, okay. And then he just looks at me and he just smiles. And I'm like, what's happening here? What is this show of dominance that we're doing? And then he was like, okay, y'all. So I'm sure that you've met the impressive Cat. I'm sure that she has entertained you for a little bit. But what are we all drinking? Everyone's like, obviously tequila. And Charlie's like, obviously tequila. We all sit down, and the cousin and him are just kind of catching up and talking about their time together at their retreat. And it is very clear, y'all, that Harley is the head honcho and is just like the quiet final boss, because they're all just sucking his butthole. They're like, this place is so great. You always get the best places, man. One of the young dudes is like, dude, Harley, you're such a legend. He's the dude that didn't say the OnlyFans comment, but the guy that he was talking to, he looks at me and he was like, do you know how much of a legend this man is? Harley was just like, dude, stop. And I go, I know that he's a very kind man. So I am understanding the things about him myself from my experience here. They're like, you're in the presence of greatness, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, ick. Harley's like, please stop. Like, he looks embarrassed, y'all. And I'm just sitting there drinking my champagne and eating my eggs and just chatting with everyone about things that have nothing to do with tequila. Tequila man starts talking about the history of the tequila. He's talking about where it was grown, the history of his grandfather. He's kind of giving like the kind of similar spiel to what he was telling me. And he starts talking about the goals that he has and that he wants all of it to be made locally in Cabo by the local people. And it would be made with the local cactus and the local ingredients. And it's something that is very close to his heart because of his Hispanic roots. And he's being very relatable to Harley, being like, I know that family is very important to you. And so for me, family legacy is important as your family legacy is important. And because your dad is such a legend and your dad started all this and blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking at Mr. Man and I'm thinking like, dude, going the your dad route is maybe not the best route with Harley. Dude's like, how is your dad's health, by the way? And Harley is like eating his eggs and he just kind of doesn't even look up and he just says, my dad is fine. And then he takes a bite again and Tequila Man's like, oh yeah, just because the cousin who knows Harley clearly knows a little bit more. So he interjects and he's just like, tell Harley more about the bottle and like where the inspiration for the look of the bottle comes from, because it was these beautiful hand blown glass bottles and the name and everything. And so the Tequila Man starts going into the depth of the name and where that came from and the history of that. And Harley is definitely responding more to that and more interested in that. Lunchtime ends, the staff is kind of cleaning up everything, and the guys, it's very clear that they want to hang out at this nice-ass villa and drink more drinks and hang out, and I get it because I would do the same. I am doing the same. I'm just kind of like standing away from the men while they're talking about their things because now I'm just interested and I just want to try to figure out my thoughts and how I'm feeling about the rest of this time here. So I'm just kind of standing looking out the ocean. And I just hear one of the younger guys like, oh, well, like, let's keep this party going. Like, what time are you guys leaving? Because maybe we can sit by the pool, have some more drinks. Like, I have some ideas for some other things that I'm working on. And Harley just goes, nah, it's time for y'all to leave, man. I'm like, uh-oh. The guys that say bye, I go and say bye to them as well. I do not say bye to those two rude boys, and I wave at them, and they leave. Harley looks at me, and he just goes, I'm gonna go take a nap. I'm like, are you okay? And he was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go take a nap. I'm like, okay. He doesn't say, are you good or anything like that. He just is like, I need to go take a nap. I'm like, okay, I mean, I'm good either way, but you do you. He goes in his room and shuts the door, and I go sit on one of the little benches near the pool area, and I FaceTime my friend, and I'm telling her what happened. And she's like, what the heck? I'm like, yeah, I don't know why he was crying. I don't know what was going on. It was really weird. And she was like, okay, well, do you feel unsafe? And I'm like, I don't feel unsafe at all. I just don't know what the deal is. And she was like, okay, well, I'm sure that you're going to find out. I'm just kind of laying there, just chilling on my phone, looking out on the ocean. And then I hear footsteps behind me. I just hear like, you ready to go soon? I look over at Harley and he looks back to his normal, happy self again. And he was like, now that we've gotten business out of the way, sorry, we can't stay here any longer, but I really need to get back to LA. The jet is going to be coming, so we're going to go to the airport soon. Can you pack your stuff up and then we'll hop into the car and head to the airport? I was like, okay. I was trying to figure out when the time was that I was going to talk to him about his crying episode and everything, but I knew it was not the time then. So I go back to my room, I pack all my stuff, I bid the lovely staff adieu, I take one last look at this beautiful villa, and we jump into the black car and we head back to the airport. We're in there and he is on his phone and on his laptop working the whole time, not really saying a lot. We pull up to the airport, we go into the little waiting room. He's just kind of looking at me. He's like, how are you feeling? I'm like, I'm great. He's like, where are you staying right now? And I was like, oh, I was staying at that hotel. I can either go stay at my friends in Hawthorne or I might just get like another hotel or B&B. And he was like, no, nonsense, we're gonna stay with me. I'm like, what? And he was like, yeah, I thought that you were going to stay with me. Now, remember, y'all, I was in between places because I was currently looking for a new place because my place in Hollywood had been affected by the fire. So I was looking for a new place and I just been kind of hopping around. And he was like, you're going to stay at my house until you find a new place. I have so much room. Just come and stay with me. If you get uncomfortable, then I'll just pay for you to get a hotel room. Does that work for you? I really want to spend more time with you and get to know you more. So is that okay? And I was like, yeah, that's fine. Like, this way I can get more answers from this man. The attending man comes and he's like, hey, is everyone in your party here? You guys ready to board? Harley's like, no, not yet. I'm like, no, not yet. As soon as he says that, I hear like, hey, man. I look over and there's two guys, an older white guy and a younger black guy. Harley's like, what's up, guys? Blah, blah, blah. He's like, this is Kat. We're going to call the white guy Bob and we're going to call the younger black guy Reed. Bob looks familiar to me, but I can't place him exactly, but he's very sweet. And he's like, oh, it's lovely to meet you. I've heard so much about you. And in my brain, I'm thinking I've heard nothing about you. And then the younger black dude's like, what's up, Harley? And Harley's like, these are my friends. And I'm like, okay, where'd they come from? Where'd they pop out from? He's like, how was Mexico City? They're like, oh, it was great, man. They're like, how was your investor meeting? They're kind of catching up. The dude's like, okay, your whole party's here. Let's walk. So we're all walking to the tarmac. Thank you, netizens, for seeing that I said tar pit in my first video. I am the queen of the Freudian slip. We get up into the private plane. Me, Harley, Bob, Reed. Reed and Harley are chatting, and Bob is like, hey, how did it go in Cabo? Like, how was the villa? I'm like, oh my God, the villa was beautiful. I was like, oh, what were you doing in Mexico City? And he was like, oh, I was filming a movie. And I was like, oh, what movie? And he was kind of telling me about it. And he was saying that he was meeting this big director. And then I realized where I recognized this man from and that he is on a series that I've actually watched. And I was like, oh, okay, now I remember this man. He's one of those actors that he's like a snap actor. Like, you wouldn't know his name by looking at him, but if you saw him, you're definitely like, oh, I've seen that man in things. Everyone's kind of chatting. And at some point, Reed and Bob are chatting across the way. Harley reaches over and just grabs my hand across the aisle. I look over at him and he smiles. And I was like, hey, are you okay? And he was like, yeah. I'm like, okay. And he was like, hey, listen, I'm sorry about last night. Once we get back to the house in LA, I will explain everything, but I have RSD. I'm like, RSD? What is that? And he goes, rejection sensitivity dysphoria. I'm like, what is that? You just can't handle rejection? And he goes, shh, look, there's other things that you need to know about me and I will tell you everything when we get back to the house, but please just don't say anything, okay? I'm like, okay. So yes, y'all, next part. How this man has RSD and how actually RSD is the least of his problems and how it affects him and all the secrets that I find out about him along the way. Plus more gifts. Stay tuned. I love you when I see you. Big hug, big kiss. Part 6, my month with a billionaire. Harley has just told me that he has something called RSD, which is rejection sensitivity dysphoria. I was like, isn't that just the plight of the straight man? I don't understand what you're saying. You just don't like rejection. He's like, shh, I'll tell you later. The flight attendant comes by. She's telling us the food of the day. And I end up getting this like little shrimp salad. And we're sitting there. And the dude, the actor dude that was sitting across from me, we're calling him Bob. He ends up going to the bathroom. He's in the bathroom for a second, and I'm just kind of like looking over at Harley as he talks to Reed, and I'm looking at him, and I'm just seeing now in the light of the day that this man actually looks like he is older than mid-40s. Like, he is looking a little bit older and a little bit more wrinkled. He seems older than mid-40s, but you know what? Maybe that's just my imagination. Remember that feeling, y'all. The dude comes back from the bathroom, Bob, and he's like, so, what's going on, guys? And I'm like, okay. She brings the food, and he had ordered a baked potato something or whatever. He looks at his food, the actor guy Bob, and he's like, I'm not hungry. And we're like, okay. The girl brings over drinks. I get like a Diet Coke and a coffee, and we're just kind of like vibing and chilling. I'm sitting in there listening to music and stuff. And the actor dude gets up again and goes to the bathroom. I look over at Harley, and Harley is like looking at his phone, and he just like does a side eye like this at the guy and looks back down on his phone. The dude comes back. He's like, So, you guys, I wanted to talk to you about this script that I'm doing with this really cool director, blah, blah, blah. He started going off. Now, as someone that has done many recreational activities, many recreational party favors, it was very quick that I noticed that jaw was moving and that nose was running, and he was going in there and doing some snow, y'all, in the bathroom. I look over and Harley is looking at him side eye, and I'm like, huh, interesting. Like, I guess he's not happy that this man that is hitching a ride with him on his private plane is doing illicit drugs in the plane at 3 in the afternoon, right? Dude is just talking. He's just clearly going on a tangent of his dreams and hopes and things that go through the mind of everyone whenever they're doing lines of snow. You know what I'm saying? Reed is just like agreeing with him, and Reed's just like, yeah, bro, whatever. They're kind of chatting, and dude is in the middle. He's like, yeah, so anyways, it's like about these like very interesting AI characters. And then Harley goes, Bob. And Bob's like, and these AI characters, they're like coming in from the sky and blah, blah, blah. And he goes, Bob. Dude goes, yeah, what's up, Harley? He goes, hey, you good? And Bob goes, yeah, I'm good. Why? What's up? And Harley goes, well, I remember I had a rule about being on this plane, and I just want to make sure that you're following the rules. Dude's like, yeah, man, like I would never like disrespect you like that. I'm always following the rules, la, 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 la. And Harley goes, okay. 30 minutes or something later, Bob stands up to go to the bathroom. He's about to walk through the aisle. Harley grabs his arm, and Harley's like this. Where you going? Bob goes, oh, I'm just going to the bathroom. Harley goes, you've gone to the bathroom 3 times in the past like 30 minutes. What's going on? Bob is like, nothing, man. I just, all these drinks just going right through me. Like, I maybe ate something bad, like, earlier, blah, 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 blah. Harley goes, oh, so if I empty your pockets out, then there's not a reason in your pocket as to why you keep going to the bathroom? Bob is like, shit. I look at him like, brother, the jig is up. And he's just like, hey, man, I'm sorry. He's like, I had a really long night, and I just have this meeting that I have to go to once I hit LA, and I just need to stay awake. So I just kept the party going from last night. And Harley goes, I understand that, but we have a rule. Bob was like, totally, dude. I'm really sorry. He was like, I'm not going to go to the bathroom again. Like, I'll be fine. And Harley goes, okay, I just want to make sure because you know. And he was like, I know, man, I know. Bob sits back down and he puts his headphones on. He gets on his laptop and he just starts clacking away, all like fiending out and, hoping that he can get his next little bump. But he is just like keeping it locked and loaded and downing these rum and coke so that he can try to keep it together. I look up at Harley, and Harley doesn't even look at me. He's just looking at his phone and just staring at it. And the rest of the flight, I end up falling asleep. And then I get a tap on my shoulder, and Harley's like, hey, little angel, like, we're here now. I'm like, okay. He's like, wow, you slept the whole way. I'm like, I love to sleep. And he was like, wow, what a little angel. She just sleeps through everything. I'm like, yep, that's me. We get out, and as soon as you walk out of the private plane, they pull up your car literally up to the stairs. So like you walk out, we're at Burbank Airport, we land, stairs are here, cars are pulling up here. A attendant pulls up a 4-door green Bentley. The other dudes, they just kind of like are saying bye and everything, and I say bye to them, and they're like, thank you so much. Bob is like, hey man, like, and Harley's like, I'll see you later. And he's like, okay, man. They both leave, they get into cars or whatever, and Harley thanks the attendant, and he puts my stuff into the green Bentley, and then he helps me in it, and I get inside. It is a nice freaking Bentley. Bentleys are nice for a reason. He's just kind of like humming and stuff. It's a beautiful day in Los Angeles. And he's like, I'm really excited to show you my house. And I was like, I'm excited to see your house as well. The phone rings, and he looks at it, and he's like, I have to take this. Sorry, this is my dad's nurse. I'm like, okay. Phone comes on, this lovely Southern woman. She's like, hi, Harley, are you back? And he's like, yeah, I am, Carol. He's like, what's going on? And she's like, I'm sorry, but your dad's on a mean one today, and I just cannot get him to eat anything. Is there any chance that you can stop by on the way? Because he is just throwing a damn fit. Harley's like, look, I have someone in the car with me, and I want to take her back to the house. It's been a really long day. Is it really bad? Scale 1 to 10, how bad? She was like, we got a stage 8 today. And he's like, ugh. He looks at me, and he's like, do you mind if we stop in Bel Air at my dad's house? I'm like, no, of course not. Whatever you need to do. He's like, okay. We're driving, and he's like, hey, I just want to let you know that my dad is a very difficult person, and so it might be better if you just wait in the car while I go deal with him. I was like, oh, well, if you want me to wait in the car, I don't mind, but I'm also happy to go in. I am very good at dealing with difficult people. I'm very likable. And he was like, I know that you are. And he was like, okay, I'll bring you in. I'm just letting you know that he is not all there. I'm like, totally heard. I get it. We're going up into the Bel Air Mountains, y'all. So when you go into Bel Air in Beverly Hills, it's got a separate entrance. It's like these big, huge entrance. You go through, there's a security gate, and we go through, and then we go through a second security gate. We go through there, and literally every house is shrouded with all these tall ass bushes, and you can't see nothing. We're driving by, and he's like, oh, have you seen the One mansion? I'm like, no, what is that? He was like, the One. It's like the most expensive house in the world. It's $500 million. They just got sold. They're actually renovating it right now. Some Saudi Arabian man like bought it and is like redoing it and doing construction over there. Like my dad's house is near there. I'm like, oh shit, okay. We're driving up these hills. It is like taking forever to drive up these hills, y'all. It's like 30 minutes just going up these windy hills, seeing the biggest $100 million houses that I've ever seen going through. Finally pull up to this big wrought iron golden gate that has all these little filigrees and shit on it. He punches a little thing into the gate and the gate opens. It is a long ass driveway up there. We go up the whole ass driveway, and over there is a huge sprawling mansion, okay? This place is massive, y'all. Like, y'all grow in, there's a huge big fountain in the middle. There's these 2 trees on either side, and there's a huge driveway, and then it leads to the driveway over here. There's a tennis court over here, and then the front of the house. I'm like, damn, this house is massive. I wonder what Harley's house looks like. We pull up, I'm like, is this the house you grew up in? He was like, yeah. I'm like, damn, must be nice. Pull up to the door, and the nurse immediately comes outside, and Harley just parks his Bentley out there, and she comes outside, and she's just this sweet, blonde, older woman, and he's like, Kat, Carol, Kat. I'm like, hi. And she's like, hi. And she's like, Harley, I need you to run in, like, immediately. And he's like, okay. And he takes me inside, and there's 2 people that greet us at the front. There is a housekeeper and then another woman who is, like, an assistant. And Harley's like, hey, can you take Kat into one of the rooms so that she can just, like, chill, like, while I go do it with my dad? And they're like, your dad is right over here in the little saloon area. So you walk in, there's like stairs that lead up this way. On the left, there's like a seating area that's got all these big windows around it. I look over, and his dad is sitting there, this older man just sitting in a wheelchair facing the window, and he is surrounded by piles of papers, newspapers, books, just on top of everything, okay? It is very clear that this is a rich old person's house. There's books and tables and encyclopedias and all sorts of just stuff everywhere. It's very clean for sure, because obviously this housekeeper lives there and keeps it very clean. There's not a fucking speck of dirt anywhere. But there is a lot of just stuff everywhere, just clutter and things stacked on things. But again, clean, just cluttered. On the right, there's another little kind of chill area. Well, there is a seating area, a piano, and it's just kind of like a little entertainment room. So the 2 rooms on either side are like clearly entertainment rooms. There's the foyer walkway area in the middle, and then the stairs. Harley's like, Dad, I'm here. And his dad doesn't turn around. And he's like, Kat, can you go sit over there? I'm like, yeah. I go, and I'm sitting in the room, and the housekeeper's like, can I bring you something? I'll bring you something to drink. I was like, oh yeah, I'd love a nice coffee. She's like, okay. I go into that room, and I'm just like sitting in one of the seating areas. Now, the walkway area that has been in between those 2 spaces is probably, I want to say, like 500 square feet. So I can clearly hear everything going on in that room while I'm in this other room, because it's all open. And the house is really tall with super high ceilings and huge, so you can hear everything echoing around. I'm just sitting there, and I'm kind of looking around. There's like Life magazines on the table. There's like all these different like pictures on the walls of like Harley when he was a baby, and Harley and another girl, which I was assuming is his sister, and his mom and his dad, and just like all these people. And I'm kind of like looking around, and I just hear Harley kind of like talking to his dad. Like he's just like very low talking. He's like, hey, like what's going on, blah, blah, blah. The dad isn't saying anything. I kind of like peek my head over, and I can see them, and Harley's just kind of standing to the side of his dad as his dad is sitting in the wheelchair. And he's like, hey, look, man, you need to eat. Like, I can put the game on for you on the TV, but you need to eat something because you really need to take your medication. Otherwise, you can't take the medication because you know that it makes your tummy hurt. The nurse is holding a tray that's got like peaches and cottage cheese on it. Harley is holding the tray and the peaches, and he's like trying to give it to his dad. I turn for 2 seconds, y'all. I turn, and then I just hear this clash on the marble floor. I look over, and the plate of cottage cheese and fruit is on the ground. And Harley is like, are you kidding me? You're impossible, old man. He looks at Carol. He goes, Carol, I can't do this today. I've had a long flight. I'm really, really tired. I cannot do this today. It is unclear to me how that plate got on the floor, if the dad hit it or Harley hit it, but the dad isn't moving. So I'm not sure what happened there. Harley like just walks over. He doesn't even look at me. He storms by and then walks into an area past the stairs. I'm like, what's happening? What am I supposed to do here? I'm just kind of sitting there just like flipping through the magazine like, I'm not uncomfortable and weird at all right now. The assistant who looks like this is her least favorite job ever, and I don't blame her. She is a redhead with short hair and glasses on. She walks over to me and she was like, hey, I'm really sorry. Hey, are you okay? Is there anything I can get you? And I'm like, no, no, no. She's like, do you want another coffee? I was like, girl, I'm still working on this one. And she was like, yeah, sorry that this is the first introduction that you have in the day that you came here and that Harley took you. I'm surprised that he took you here today. And I was like, I'm so sorry as well if I'm here making you uncomfortable. And she was like, no, no, no. How was y'all's trip? I'm like, oh, it was good. I'm like kind of telling her about it. And I'm like, so do you work here at the estate? And she was like, yes, I'm the estate manager. I was like, oh, got it. And she was like, yeah, this is a daily thing that we are trying to get Harley's dad to eat and he doesn't want to take his pills. I'm like, so is he nonverbal? And she was like, he is not nonverbal. He just chooses when he wants to speak, which is usually whenever he wants to argue. I'm like, oh, I see. Harley walks back in. He goes, we're leaving. I'm like, oh, are you sure? And he goes, yeah. Carol's like, please, I really need you to stay for a little bit. Can you just like sit and read to him for a little bit? Because, you know, he really likes that. We really, really need him to eat because he's been having a couple very bad days since you've been gone. Harley's like, he looks at me. I'm like, it's totally fine. I'm like, do what you need to do. Like, I'm here, I'm not going anywhere. I will wait for you, you know, whatever you need. Carol goes, well, maybe she should meet him. And Harley was like, what? And Carol's like, yeah, maybe you should introduce Kat to your dad. And he's like, do you want to meet him? I'm like, yeah, of course. And he's like, okay, look, I'm just telling you that he is a difficult person. Meanwhile, he's saying all this in earshot of his dad, okay? Now, I have dealt with people with Alzheimer's before, and I know it can be very difficult because they do have outbursts, and it is very scary for them, and things can happen. So I had a friend of mine who I grew up with, her grandma had Alzheimer's really bad, and it was like always having to be very patient around her. So I kind of knew the deal, right? Harley walks me over, he walks me around, and this man is just sitting there in a red and blue robe. His hair is all messy, it's white hair. He's just sitting there staring out the window. Harley goes, Dad, this is Kat. She's my friend. We were in Mexico together. His dad looks up at me, and I go, hi. And I put my hand out. His dad puts his hand out and shakes my hand. And I'm looking at him, and he's looking at me, and he just goes, beautiful. And I go, oh, thank you. The nurses are all shocked. They're like, oh my God, he speaks. And Harley's like, of course you would respond to a pretty girl. And his dad goes, oh, hi. He's shaking my hand. He's still shaking it and shaking it. I feel like Ariana Grande in that clip where that man is shaking her hand. And Harley's like, okay, stop shaking her hand. The dad looks at Harley, and he goes, oh, I like her. And I was like, oh, I like you too. And he was like, what are you doing here? And I was like, well, we're here to visit you. And he goes, why? And I was like, oh, because Harley said that he wanted to visit you, and also we wanted to make sure that you were going to get some food. Harley's just standing there. He goes, why? And I was like, well, aren't you hungry? Don't you want to take your pills? And he was like, no, I don't want to eat these peaches. All they do is give me peaches all day, and I'm sick of it. I was like, I get it, dude. I also hate eating the same thing every day. I'm like, do you have a preference? Like, what is something that you like to eat? And he was like, I'd really like some fried okra. I'm like, oh, a Southern king. I love it. Like, I'm Southern and I get that. I look at Carol. I'm like, girl, can you whip that up? And she was like, okay, I'm going to go have the chef, like, whip something up. He's like, no, actually, you know what? I want mozzarella sticks. They're like, you can't have that. And he's like, why? And they're like, you can't have cheese. And he was like, I want mozzarella sticks. And they're like, look, we can literally make you anything else, but you can't have dairy. I look at Harley, and Harley is absolutely, without a doubt, very confused. He does not know what to do. I like walk over and I pull Carol and the assistant aside, and I was like, hey, do you guys have access to like vegan cheese? They were like, we have a fully stocked pantry. We have literally everything that you could think of imaginable in this house. I was like, well, can you guys make him some like vegan mozzarella sticks? And they were like, yeah, we could probably do that. I'm like, yeah, just tell him it's real cheese. And they were like, oh, that's a great idea. I'm like, okay, cool. They leave. I go back in there and I'm just kind of sitting with his dad. Harley ends up turning the game on, and his dad is watching the game, and we're just kind of chatting. Like 45 minutes later, they walk in with these vegan mozzarella sticks with some honey mustard dressing. They bring it over, and they're like, okay, we made you food. And he's like looking at it. Harley is like, okay, I'm going to feed you now, Dad. And his dad looks at him, and I go, what if I do it? Would you like that? And he goes, I'd like it if she fed me. And I was like, okay, great then. I take it, I take the fork, I stab it into the vegan mozzarella stick, I dip it in the honey mustard, and I hold it out to this man. And this old billionaire starts nubbing it in his little gummy teeth going. And he goes, he rips it, he goes, I was like, is it good? And he was like, yeah. I was like, can I try some? And he was like, I'd like you to. I'm like, great, I try some. I'm like, oh, it's really good. And he's like, yeah. Me and this man, we just start laughing, and we are eating the mozzarella sticks. And Carol walks over with medication, he opens his mouth, and she sticks it on his tongue. He washes it down with a Diet Coke, and everyone is happy. Harley is now standing away from us towards the window on the other side of the room and just looking out the window, not looking at us. I'm thinking like, wow, I guess Alzheimer's or whatever has changed this man because he's actually very pleasant right now to me. Or I don't know apparently what's going on. His dad is just smiling at me and he's just like, I haven't been fed by a woman in a long time. Carol goes, I feed you every day. And he goes, I mean a beautiful woman. I was like, Carol, you're beautiful. I look over at Harley and he's just like looking out the window. So I stand up and I go, I'm going to go check on your son. Is that okay? His dad goes, yeah. He keeps watching the game. I walk over and I look at Harley. And what is this man doing? This man is crying again, y'all. This man is crying again. I'm like, Harley. And he goes, yeah. I'm like, are you okay? And he looks at me and he goes, yeah, I'm okay. So yes, y'all. This man is full of complex emotions and has a very complicated relationship with his father, clearly. So, next part, we're going to get into the nitty gritty of his relationship with his dad. We're going to finally go to his house and see his wonderful house and the surprise guest who is at his house. Stay tuned. Thanks for being here. I love you and I see you. Big hug, big kiss. Part 7, my month with a billionaire. So Harley's sniffling over there and I'm trying to comfort this man who is crying again. And I'm like, Harley, what's going on? And he was like, I just need to get out of here. He's like, my dad has eaten, so can we please just leave? I just really need to get home. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Whatever it is that you need. This is your household. This is your family. Like, whatever you need. I go back over to Carol. He goes and stands by the door. He's ready to leave. And I'm like, bye, Carol. It was really nice to meet you. And she was like, come over anytime. And I go over to Harley's dad and I'm like, hey, really great to meet you, but I have to go now. And he goes, wait, don't you want to see my collection? And I was like, what collection? And he was like, my car collection. And I was like, oh, I'm really sorry, but Harley needs to go back because we've been out all day and we were in Mexico. So he needs to go back and take care of some stuff, but I will be back and I'll hang out with you. Would you like that? And he was like, I'd really like that. I'm like, okay, great. I give the girls a hug, I say goodbye, and then I walk out with Harley, and Harley is over there just like wiping his face with his shirt. He opens the door for me, we get in. We were driving. I'm about to look over and be like, hey, are you good? The man reaches over, turns on music. He turns on some metal, like some Korn or Papa Roach or whatever, and he just starts blasting it. So we are speeding down back over to the Encino Hills, just blasting metal in the car. But like, you know what? Like, your girl's a metal girl, so like, whatever, I'm vibing. I'm like, all right, let's go. Let's like headbang, you know? It's clear that he doesn't want to talk, so I'm not going to press him. We get back to the house. He hasn't said anything to me. We're just headbanging to these beats. Pull up to a very nice neighborhood in Encino, and he presses a button to open a gate. The gate opens, and there's his house. The house is 5 stories. It's completely new. It's got glass all on the outside, and it's got a very nice, like, 3-car garage. And then there's 2 cars that are sitting out in the front as well. So he opens the garage, and inside the garage is a Lambo and a Rolls Royce. And then outside on the actual driveway is a BMW and an Audi SUV. He pulls his Bentley into the spot, and he helps me get my stuff, and he opens the door. And as soon as we walk in, I just see this older Hispanic woman standing at the island. And he's like, hey, Maria. And she's like, oh, hey, welcome. How was your trip? And he was like, this is my housekeeper, Maria. This is Kat. The house is very modern, y'all, and it is gorgeous. There's 2 huge islands in the middle of the kitchen, and it opens up to the entire yard area and then a small sitting area. If you walk over to where the front door is, there's a very, very big seating area with a huge dining table, and the entire house is just made of glass. He's got so much beautiful art on all the walls. I do have photos of his place, but to protect his identity, I have decided not to share it. He is a public figure. Many people have been to his house, and if people recognize it, then it will give it away. And I'm not trying to dox anyone, and please be here for my stories. And I'm just here to entertain y'all and share my life lessons and my life with you. So I really appreciate y'all respecting that. He's like, Maria, did you order anything? Do you have any food in here? She's like, I'm so sorry. I actually didn't know you were going to be back today, so there's not really a lot here. And he's like, Kat, just tell Maria what you like, and she'll like order whatever it is that you want. I'm like, okay. She's kind of just walking around, and then I hear like, hey, Harley. I look over, and there's a girl and a guy walking towards him. The girl is probably in her mid-40s, very pretty, brown hair. And then the guy is younger, probably in his late 20s with a buzz cut. And Harley's like, oh, hey, this is Jack, we'll call the guy, my assistant. And then this is, and he points to the girl, and she looks at me, and he goes, Dana, my other assistant. I was like, oh, you got 2 assistants. And Dana's like, yeah, hi. They're like, hey, Harley, we have like things you need to look at immediately. So can you come into the office? And then blah, blah, blah. He's like, yeah, Maria, can you show Kat around? Maria starts giving me the tour. The house is 8 bedrooms. It has patios that wrap around each level. The levels is 5 stories. The first level is 2 offices, a bedroom, the kitchen, that opens up into the yard where there's 2 pools, and the pools are looking out the Encino Hills. There's also a hot tub and a grill area and an outdoor TV screen, and he has a mini golf course back there. Second level, there's 2 guest rooms, his bedroom, and then a game room that's got a pool table, a foosball table, and a bunch of gaming systems and old school pinball machines. She takes me up to the third level where there is a private home gym and a private theater, 2 more bedrooms. And then the fourth level has a golf simulator station up there because apparently he loves golf, a tiny little bowling alley, and a small little bar area that opens up into a very big patio area. There's a rooftop that you take little stairs to and you walk up there, and it's a completely huge renovated roof that is set up like a party. And it also has a mini gym up there where you can work out under the sun because that's what rich people do. Now on the bar, he's got 2 bars, there's TVs up there, there's a ton of seating, 2 full ass fridges just stocked with a bunch of party favors and things like that. A whole place to set up a DJ. I'm like, this house is ready for a party and I will be throwing one. She is like, okay, you can pick a bedroom where you want to set up your stuff. I was like, where's Harley's bedroom? And she shows me his bedroom. And his bedroom, guys, is behind a huge steel safe wall. And to get in, it has a eye recognition function. So his eyes have to look into it to open into the bedroom. So I can't see into his bedroom because he's got this big bank vault gate door on it. I'm like, okay, the man is clearly not wanting to have strangers go in there. I look around and I see one of the bedrooms that is very, very nice, probably like 250 square feet. It's got a nice bed in there and a desk, and it opens up to a great view of the Encino Hills and a nice bathroom with a 2-headed shower and all marble stuff. And it's just a little bit simple, but I just felt like it felt really nice. So I put my stuff in there, and I know that Harley is in the office on the bottom level. So then I go down and Maria's like, do you want a snack? I was like, yeah. So she makes me this really nice cheese plate and she pours me a glass of San Pellegrino water. And I'm just kind of like looking at the view. I decide that I'm going to go in the backyard and just lay out and call my friends and wait for Harley. So I go out there. I'm just laying in the view. The grass is so nice. The birds are chirping. It's gorgeous. The pool has an infinity pool that ends and then goes out into the city and you can see everything. And then I just hear probably like 15 minutes later, I hear like, are you enjoying the view? And I look up and it's Harley. And he was like, hey. I'm like, hey. He's like, can I sit with you? I was like, yeah, of course. I move over and he just sits on the little lawn chair next to me, like right next to me, and we're sharing the seat. He puts his arms around me and he's kind of holding me and he just kisses me on the shoulder, which I was like, fine. And he was like, I'm really glad you're here. And I just wanted to apologize for my emotional outburst earlier. And I was like, that's okay. I was like, but why don't you, if you're ready for it and if you feel comfortable, why don't you tell me a little bit more about what's going on about your RSD and about your dad if you want? You don't have to. Like, you can tell me when you're ready, but I would love to know more about it if you feel comfortable. And he was like, yes, I do want to tell you about it. So here's the deal. I grew up with my dad, who was incredibly verbally abusive, who nothing that I did was good enough. And my sister, who's older than me, she's 4 years older, she was always the golden child, and she was very successful in being good with numbers and good with business. And she helped my dad with the business from an early age. And it was very clear that she was going to be the one that was going to take over the business. And he was really grooming her to be the person that took over everything. And I just had no interest. I was partying, I was playing golf, I was just interested in like guns and girls and going out. And he didn't really expect much out of me. And then I met my wife and I got married to her. And I was just kind of living and thinking that I was going to just be a husband and try to get my life together a little bit because she wanted me to get my life right. And then I found out that she was cheating on me with one of my friends. So we got a divorce, and then I decided that I really wanted to make something of myself. So I started making investments in a lot of different companies. My dad was giving me money to try to start a clothing line, and I tried to start a music label, and then I tried to start some other investment portfolios, and now I'm investing in some like food and drinks and some restaurants and hotels, and I'm just trying to figure out my path and what really calls to me. But when my dad got diagnosed with Alzheimer's a few years ago, he started really forgetting everything, and he was going to leave everything to my sister for her to take over. But then his sister got married to an attorney, and she decided that she actually didn't want to work. So all of that training and all those years of training that his dad had trained his sister to take over the business, and she decided she didn't want to do it. So it fell to Harley. His dad was not happy or pleased that he was going to be leaving it to Harley. And so Harley started studying day and night very hard the business and trying to make sure that he was doing the decisions that his father had asked him to do. And he was just at his dad's, and they were fighting all the time. And his dad was always basically putting him down, saying that he did not have the skill set to do it. And Harley was working very hard. His father's Alzheimer's started really, really getting bad, and his father started really not remembering anything, to the point where his dad forgot a lot of times what Harley's job was, and he started treating Harley almost like a young boy. So Harley was like, it was really dysphoric because I would be there working and my dad would be like, hey, where's Harley? And I'd be like, Dad, I'm Harley. And he'd be like, no, Harley should be at baseball practice. And so his dad started forgetting things. And then when he would find out that it was Harley, he would start treating Harley like a child and being very sweet and doting to him. He was like, my dad, in all the years that I've been alive, has told me that he loves me 0 times. He has never given me a kiss on the cheek. He barely gives me hugs. So suddenly this man being very loving is very, very odd for me, because I had planned on confronting him at some point and I've just never gotten the closure that I wanted from him. And then moments where his dad will suddenly catch everything in his mind and remember who he is, and he'll be really abusive again to Harley and be like, you're not doing things right. Like, why can't you do anything right? So it's this big ping pong situation of his dad going from like, oh, are you baby Harley? Like, let me love you. I love you. I want to cherish you and you're my son, to, oh, who are you? What are you doing here? I was like, I can tell that that can be very dysphoric and very traumatizing. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, and what happened to your mom? And he just like kind of got quiet. And he was like, my mother was the most loving, beautiful, magnetic creature in the world. And I was like, oh, what happened to her? And he goes, well, she died when I was 8. And I'm convinced that my father unalived her. I was like, I'm sorry, what? And he was like, yep. I'm like, wait, like actually, or like, I need more explanation, sir. He goes, my mother every single day was trying to make this man happy. He worked long, stressful hours, and she came from a wealthy family as well. So she was being a homemaker. She was helping her kids and stuff. And she was just constantly dealing with his verbal abuse and his alcoholism. And he would throw things and he'd be very angry. And he was like, she started getting really stressed out and scared to where her hair was falling out. She was getting really sick all the time. And then they diagnosed her with a degenerative disease. And then she died like 4 months after she was diagnosed. And I'm convinced it's from the stress levels of dealing with my dad. And he was like, I will never forgive him from that, because she was the most important person to me. And I will never, ever be able to look past that no matter what. I'm like, wow, okay. As we're sitting there, Dana walks over, the assistant. She's like, Harley, it's time to take your medicine. We walk over and she has all of his medication set up, you guys. There is like an alkaline shot. There's a saltwater shot. There is a metal alkaline mixture, and then a whole big thing of pills. And she's like, bottoms up. And he's like, okay, great. So he takes a shot. He takes the pills, and then he downs it all in this big glass of water. And she's like, okay, great. Now I'm going to put like some of your droplets of your other medications in. She takes like a little tea dropper and she drops it in there. I'm like, what is this man taking? I'm like, what is all that stuff? And she was like, oh, this is all for metal alkalizing. This is to get rid of metals in the body and blah, blah, blah. She's explaining it, right? And then these are just all the vitamins that are for balancing him with his other medications. I'm like, okay. Jack is like, Harley, I finished all those reports, so I'll be back tomorrow and we can figure it out. Harley's like, great, thanks for coming in today. Like, I'll see you later. Dana is like, okay, Harley, are you ready to work out now? And Harley's like, I'm really tired. Do I need to? And she's like, it's really important that you work out even though you've had a long day, because you were with your dad and you really need to get all that stress out and everything. And he looks at me and he's like, do you want to work out? And I was like, I'll work out. I'm like, I don't have any workout clothes or anything though. And he's like, yeah, that's no problem. And he's like, Jack, before you leave, can you show Kat to the wardrobe room? And he's like, yeah, of course. I'm like, wardrobe room. Jack leads me back into the garage, and there is a wardrobe, like one of those just storage unit wardrobes where you can put tools and stuff. And he opens it, and there's just all this like packaged clothing. There's like men and women's workout gear. There's all these like Nikes and sneakers that are unopened. There's sweatshirts that are in packages. There's Lululemon and Viore and Nike and just like all this stuff in different sizes. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, okay. He's like, yeah, get whatever you want. I'm like, okay. I get a nice little Viore set and I throw that on and we walk over, and Dana leads Harley and I up to the gym. Harley jumps on a bike and he's just kind of cycling, and I get on the treadmill and I'm just kind of like walking. I'm just listening to the conversation that Dana and Harley are having. And Harley's like, yeah, the investor meeting went really good. I really think that we were making some strides with them. I really like what they stand for. And I'm really into the fact that it's locally made. And thank you for people that were asking about the fact that tequila cannot be made in Cabo. So this drink is technically a agave spirit, but a lot of times they call it tequila. Actual tequila can only be made in Jalisco. Now, the men were calling it tequila, but I did research on the brand and it is actually a agave spirit, which is why they can make it in Cabo. So just the more you know. She's like, okay, great. She's like, how did it feel being around the alcohol? And he was like, I was totally fine. I'm just listening. I'm like, how did it feel to be around the alcohol? What are they talking about? And she was like, did you have a drink? And he was like, I just had a Modelo. She was standing next to him while he's cycling. She looks at him and she was like, did you have another drink? And he was like, no, I just had the one drink. And she's like, okay. I'm sitting there thinking like, it's very strange that his assistant is grilling him about having a drink, a Modelo, like a light ass beer, and then asking how he felt around the tequila or agave spirit or any alcohol in general. Like, this is something to clock. And she's like, okay, and how have you been feeling mentally? And he's like, good. I feel really strong. I feel like I'm very mentally in tune. And she's like, and how did it feel being around your dad? He goes, not good. And then I just kind of look over and he's like gripping the seat, you guys. And he just goes, he embarrassed me in front of Kat. I'm on the treadmill. I'm like, what? She looks at me and she goes, is that true? I'm like, embarrassed you? What? I am like, well, and then she goes, Kat, can I speak to you for a second? I go, sure. Harley goes, I'll just be here on the treadmill. She goes, okay, I want you to bump that up pace faster and I want you to really get in there and I'll be back with Kat in a sec. He goes, okay. She walks me out. I'm like, why is this assistant asking to talk to me about this? That's really strange. We walk out there and she was like, okay, so tell me everything that happened at the house. I'm like, and she goes, what did you notice? What did you observe? I'm like, this is very strange. I know that I'm new here, but what kind of assistant are you? And she just smiles at me. She goes, well, I'm going to need you to sign an NDA first. Yes, you guys, shit's about to get real. Do I sign the NDA? We'll see. Who is Dana? What's going on at this house? And other people that end up popping into Harley's world. And the next day, we're going shopping. I'm trying to upload these as fast as possible, you guys. But also, if you want more stories, you can watch my Who the Hell Did I Marry series, which is 46 episodes and about to be done. So if you need to get your cat story fixes, you can watch that. I promise you, it is a wild one. And if you have your own stories, please submit them to my link tree under submission story times. I can't wait to hear them. I love you and I see you. Big hug, big kiss. My Mom with the Billionaire, part 8. All right, my beautiful besties. So Dana has just asked me to sign an NDA, to which I looked at her and I was like, you must be out your goddamn mind. I was like, Dana, I appreciate the fact that you are doing your job and everything, but I'm not signing that NDA. And she was like, well, if you're going to stay here, you are. I was like, well, that's up to Harley, but I'm not signing the NDA. And she was like, well, then I can't tell you who I am and I can't tell you certain things. I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, I'm not signing an NDA though. I have signed NDAs in the past and I have definitely regretted it and I won't do it again. And I'm sorry, but that's just my hard line on it. I hear from the gym, Harley goes, she doesn't have to sign the NDA, Dana. Dana's like, Harley, I'm doing this for your own good. He's like, no, we walk back into the gym. Harley's like on the cycling. He's like huffing and puffing. And he's like, Dana, it's fine. She doesn't have to sign it. And Dana's like, what? And he's like, yeah, it's fine. And Dana's like, but she's staying here right now. And he's like, I understand that, but it's fine. She is not pleased. She's not pleased at all. I was like, I understand that you're just trying to protect him, but I'm not signing that NDA because I need to protect myself. And he was like, look, it's fine. He finishes on the treadmill and I just kind of like do some weightlifting and pretending to do shit over there. And then he's like, all right, are you hungry? To me. And I'm like, oh, I had a little cheese plate before, but yeah. And he's like, I go to bed pretty early most nights, so let's have some sushi or let's like order some food or what is it that you're in the mood for? And then I'm gonna go to bed early because I have to wake up early for some meetings. I'm like, okay. I go in to go take a shower and get ready. And then once I come out and Harley's like, hey, I'm gonna order some sushi in because I'm really craving it. Is that okay? I'm like, honey, I can always eat sushi. And I was like, do you want to go out there? And he was like, no, I'm just gonna order in. So he orders sushi from this amazing place in Encino called Sushi by Scratch, and it was fucking delicious, y'all. It was like Peruvian scallops and king Alaskan salmon, wild caught Russian crab, Santa Barbara uni, ikura, like toro sushi. It was so amazing. And so the food comes in and Dana brings it in from the door and she brings it over to the kitchen islands, and there's like little chairs all around and we're just all sitting around there, and she sits down to eat with us. And Harley's like, sorry, my chef isn't here today. I gave him the day off because I didn't think I was gonna be back this early, but he'll be back tomorrow and then he can make you breakfast and everything, but sorry that we had to order it. I'm like, honey, I'm fine, you don't need to apologize to me. Dana's sitting there and it almost feels like she's trying to kind of chaperone the conversation. I know that she doesn't want him to say some stuff that is going to get him in trouble since I didn't sign the NDA, and I'm just like asking questions. I'm like, so Dana, where are you from? And she's like, oh, I'm originally from Kentucky. And I was like, oh, okay, and how long have you been working here for Harley? And she's like, oh, for 3 years. And I'm just trying to get her to warm up to me. She's telling me that she is recently divorced from her husband and that her husband and their kids actually live in Chicago. And so she'll go back like a few times a month to see them and then leave Harley on his own. And Harley's like, yeah, whenever she leaves, she thinks that I'm not going to be able to survive on my own, but I do just fine. I was like, yeah, you also have Jack though. I'm sure that he's like enough of an assistant to help you, right? And they're both like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, weird. Maria's just kind of walking around doing stuff, and Harley's like, Maria, would you like some food? And she's like, no, I already ate. And she's like, I think that I'm gonna go to bed actually. And she goes upstairs and goes to her room. I look at Harley, I'm like, oh, does Maria live here as well? And he was like, yes, Maria and Dana both live here. Jake does not. And then the chef doesn't live here. He comes every single day. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. He's like, so what's on your agenda this week? I was like, I'm just going to be out apartment hunting and trying to figure out where I'm going to live. And he's like, oh, okay, do you have a car? And I was like, no, I don't have a car. I was like, I got rid of it during COVID and I just Uber everywhere. And he was like, oh, okay, well, you can take one of the cars then. He was like, take either the BMW or the Audi in the front. I'm sorry, those are the only 2 cars that I have available right now, but all my other cars are in the 20-car garage that is over in Torrance that he has. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I would take you over there to see the other options. Like, I have a nice Range Rover there and a Porsche that I think you would like to drive around, but I don't have time to take you over there tomorrow. So you're just gonna have to drive around in the Audi or the BMW. I'm sorry. I was like, oh no, little old me, poor me in the luxury car. I was just joking with him. I'm like, oh, Harley, as much as that is a bummer, one of them will just have to do. He's like laughing, and Dana's not laughing. She's just kind of sitting there smiling at us with this like very hard plastered smile on her face, y'all. I'm just over there eating my king crab roll, and I'm asking her like how old her kids are, and she's saying that she has 2 teenagers, that her son is 16 and her daughter is 14, and that they come back and forth. She's like, oh, and it's just great because Harley has just been so generous with taking care of me and my family so that I can see them. And he's just so generous with his time. And he really is the best guy. Like, this man, you are in the presence of greatness. I'm like, every single person just wants to suck this guy's butthole and tell me how great he is and that I should be basically like worshiping the ground that he walks on. Like, I grew up in a religious household, y'all. My days of praising a man, fictionary or not, are over and never to be found again. So I'm like, yes, well, he is a great man. And Harley's like, okay, so this is what we'll do. Tomorrow, I have to go to the office tomorrow in the morning. And I was like, oh, where's your office? And he was like, Beverly Hills. I'm like, okay. He's like, I got to go to my office and then I can probably come back and drive around with you to look at places. And Dana's like, Harley, you have that other investor meeting. And then we have to go do cryo. And then you also have to go to the doctor. And she's like, you don't have time. And I'm like, it's okay. Like, don't worry about me. Like, I'll take one of the jalopy cars in the front and drive myself around to look at places. And he's like, okay, well, I just feel really bad because, you know, we haven't gotten to spend much time together. And I'm like, don't worry about it. And he's like, how about this? Tomorrow, after you're done and after I'm done with all my stuff, if there's time, I'll take you to the Real and you can do a little bit of shopping. And I'm like, bet, say less. And he was like, and then he looks at Dana and he's like, and then Dana, can you tell Jake to make an appointment with my jeweler? Dana's just sitting there like, and I'm like, going shopping at the Real. We kind of finish eating and everything. And Dana's like, hey, I'm going to go and call my kids in my room. Are you guys just going to be up for a little bit? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not sleepy yet. And Harley's like, okay, well, we'll stay up and just have a little chat. Dana's like, okay, but make sure that you get to bed at a good hour, Harley. I'm like, are you his mother? Like, why are you henning him so much? But I'm like, okay. And he's like, yes, don't worry about me. She says goodnight. She goes upstairs. As soon as we hear her click, clackety, clack, clack up to the 2nd floor, shuts the door, I look over at Harley and Harley goes, hey, the parent's gone to sleep. I'm like, she's your assistant, but she acts like she's your mom. And he was like, yeah, I know. He was like, it's a thing. And he was like, hey, look, this company sent me a bottle of sake. That'll go really good with this sushi though, because there were like a few pieces left still. He's like, should we crack it open and test it? I was like, bitch, say less. Like, I don't know why you didn't crack this open earlier. He goes over to the bar area and he pulls out this gorgeous light blue, like glassed kind of icy looking bottle. I'm like, that's gorgeous. He pulls it over. He's like, yeah, the company that makes this, I invested in another spirit of their sister company. So they want me to invest in this as well. I was like, oh, what did you think of the meeting that we had today? Are you going to invest in it? And he was like, I don't know. He was like, I really love that guy, like the friend who we were in the retreat together. And I like his cousin, but I did not like the way those men were talking about you. And I was like, look, it's really not a big deal. They were trying to make a joke and it wasn't a good joke that landed. And he was like, I just will not stand for anyone that's going to disrespect you or me. That is something that you'll learn about me is if somebody disrespects me, I will never do business with them and I will never respect them. I'm like, oh, damn. Okay. He's like, yeah, if you and I are out and some guy walks up to you and starts hitting on you and he knows that you're with me and he wants to disrespect me like that, we're going to have a problem. I'm like, oh. I'm like, okay, could potentially be hot or diabolical, so we'll see. He pours my sake and then he's about to pour for himself. And I'm like, wait, no. I was like, in Japanese culture, you're actually not supposed to pour it for yourself. So you pour it for me, now I'll pour for you. He's like, oh, I didn't know that. I'm like, oh yeah. So I pour for him, we cheers and we take a little sip. And y'all, like 30 minutes later, him and I have downed this whole bottle and now we are on our second bottle and we are laughing and having a great time. He's now moved his chair closer to me and I'm looking at him and I'm like, this man does look older than 45, but he is very handsome and he's very sweet and he does give protective daddy vibes, even though he doesn't have any children. And he's like, you know, I knew that you were special when you and I had matched on Raya, and I didn't realize just how special. But seeing the way that you have been able to handle my dad and the men in that meeting, like it just shows that you are a woman that can really handle yourself. And I really need someone like you in my life. And I was like, okay, you're saying all the right things, sir. And I was like, yeah, well, I really appreciate that you weren't making me sign that NDA because I just wasn't comfortable with that. And I just did think it was a little odd that Dana, as your assistant, is trying to get you to do that. Y'all, he is 1.5 bottles of sake in that we've shared. So he's, I'm guessing, a little bit tipsy, but he just blurts out, yeah, well, that's what happens. Coaches are really bossy. I'm like about to sip and I look at him and I go, coach. And he's like mid sip and he realizes, and I see his eyes, that he realizes that he slipped up. I said, coach, like a life coach? He lowers his glass, y'all. He looks at me through his cute little clear chrome hearts glasses with his very sincere green basset hound eyes. And he just goes, she's not my life coach, among other things, but her real title is sober living coach. As he is mid sip, he says that he has a sober living coach living at his house as he's mid sip. I'm like, oh my God, have I just caused this man to relapse? So yes, y'all, episode 9. What does that really mean? What does Dana really do? And all the things that I find out when I didn't sign that NDA, because I do end up finding out everything. Plus, what I get at the Real and another guest. Thank you for being here. I love you and I see you. Big hug, big kiss. Storytime, A Month with a Billionaire, Part 9. So, Harley is taking a sip of his alcoholic beverage and has just mid-sip told me that he has a sober living coach who is Miss Dana, who is there to control his life and basically suck the fun out of his life, according to him. I'm like, okay, sir, what do you have in your mouth? Oh my God, I'm like freaking out. He goes, oh, don't worry. He goes, I don't have an alcohol addiction. He goes, I had a snow addiction. I'm like, oh, so you had a drug problem. And he was like, yes, very much so. He's like, I would wake up in the morning, do a line, go to the gym, do more lines, go to lunch, do lines, take business meetings, do lines, and it was ruining my life. And the reason that Dana doesn't think that I should drink is because I used to not be able to handle my alcohol, and whenever I would drink, it would lead to doing more shots, and then to the point where I was obliterated, and then I would want to do snow, and that's how it all happened. But it's been 3 years now, and I have it under control where I can drink safely and not want to do snow. And I was like, oh, okay, so then why do you need to hide it from her? And he was like, well, as a sober living coach, she just really feels like I should abstain from everything. And I was like, well, do you feel like you need to? And he was like, no, I think I'm fine. And I was like, so do you think that your addiction and everything is under control? Like, do you feel like you don't spiral and stuff? And he was like, yeah, actually, I'm like doing really well, it feels like. And the cycle would go, I would go on a bender of just doing snow and snow and snow. This was right after his divorce to his first wife. He went on a bender and wasn't sure like what he was doing because he caught his wife again cheating with his friend. And his sister made him check into a rehab house. So the retreat that he was actually in with the cousin of the tequila agave spirits man was actually a fellow patient at this rehab, this very bougie, expensive rehab that Harley was at. So the timeline goes, Harley was married in his early 20s. They got a divorce. After that, he went on benders. He had a raging snow addiction for many, many years to where it was ruining his relationships, it was ruining his business. And then he got with his ex-girlfriend who was really, really wanting a baby with him, but he did not want to have a baby. His dad gets Alzheimer's, which thank you for everyone correcting me. I hope that I'm saying it right now. His sister is not going to take over the business, so he needs to take over the business. He ends up going to rehab. There he gets clean and decides that he is able to live his life and be an independent man now. The day he checks out, the rehab is like, hey, we don't know if you're fully able to go and be functional in life, so we want this sober living coach. We suggest that she comes and lives with you, keeps you in check, make sure that you don't go back into snow, and make sure you stay on your life because you are now dealing with your dad's will and testament and his life and businesses and all this stuff. So basically, this is like a upcharge that they offer to where they're like, hey, take this person that we want to live with you and have this person live with you to keep you in line, to keep your life in line, and basically be like your life coach, your mentor, your sober living coach, your bestie, your assistant, and run your freaking life. I'm like, okay, so is this like optional, right? And he was like, well, yeah, but they make it seem like you're in dire straits if you don't have them. And he's like, I really don't actually want her here anymore. And I'm like, okay, so send her ass home, send her ass to wherever she comes from. And he was like, well, every time I try to be like, hey, I think I'm doing well, she always tells me like, actually, I still am really worried about you because you need to be at this certain point before we can release you into the world. I'm like, but Harley, it's your life. And if you feel truly like you can let her go, then you can let her go. And he was like, yeah, I mean, $1,300 a day ain't cheap. I nearly spit out my sake, y'all. I was like, this woman is getting paid $1,300 a day to live in this mansion in Encino, drive your cars, go out to eat with you, eat your food, and all she does is make sure that you wake up, work out, don't do snow. Like, I can do that. And he was like, yeah, well, apparently every time I try to bring up the subject of letting her go, she always tells me that she really needs me here. I'm like, yeah, for $1,300 a day, I would be trying to have job security as well, sir. And he starts laughing. And we're just kind of like giggling and chatting more. And I'm really getting to know this man. And I really am seeing that he's just drinking and having fun. And I believe him when he's telling me that he really thinks he's okay. At the end of the day, I've been around addicts, I've dated addicts, and I understand that everything is on their own time. It really seems like he has turned his life around. I was like, okay, let's talk a little bit more about the RSD. And he was like, yes, I've had this since I was a child. I have always grown up being told yes on every single occasion from my family because we grew up very wealthy. But when it came to love and emotional love, I was not allowed that from my father. And even though my mom tried to love me a lot, you know, she did pass when I was young. And so being denied any sort of emotional love and everything was really difficult because my ex-wife was the same. He's like, she was not an affectionate woman. She did not want to show me the love in the ways that I wanted to. And it just really felt like I was always seeking something more. So whenever I feel like a female is rejecting me, it feels very much like a shot in the chest. I've been in therapy for years. I've seen psychiatrists. Like, I'm on a ton of medication for my depression and my anxiety and my PTSD. And I was like, oh, PTSD. And he was like, yeah, well, something really messed up happened to me, which is why I really started heavily using the snow. And I'm like, okay, well, what happened? And as he's about to tell me, he just kind of like reaches over and just like smooths out my hair. And he was like, you know, I haven't been able to be this open with anyone in a very long time and it feels really nice. And I was like, oh, good. Like, I'm glad that you feel comfortable with me. And he was like, yeah, I do. And he just like leans over and kisses me. And I'm like, okay. We kiss and we're mid kiss. And I just literally, after maybe like 5 minutes of making out, I hear, uh-oh, mommy's awake. We pull apart, we look over, and it's Dana. Y'all, she looked like a scary scene out of Mrs. Doubtfire. You know that scene where Mrs. Doubtfire, where Robin Williams is trying to hide his face because the inspector lady comes and he puts his face in the pie and he's like, oh, hello. Like, she literally looked like that. She had a face mask on and she was wearing a white robe and her hair was clipped up and she looked scary as hell. And we were like, ah! And she was like, what's going on here? We're giggling. We're like, uh-oh. And I'm like, mommy's awake. Harley's like, uh-oh, we're in trouble. And Dana walks over and she goes, oh, so we're drinking, are we? Harley was like, relax. We're just having a good time. Like, I am not about to spiral. I don't want snow. Like, we're fine. She looks at me and she's looking at me like I am the instigator from hell. I'm like, okay, this man is the one that brought out the sake, okay? Like, I was just sitting here minding my own business, eating my king crab roll, and this was presented to me, so I just leaned into the Lord. Like, don't look at me, lady. Like, he is a grown-ass man that can make his own decisions, you know? She's like, Harley, I don't like this behavior. And he's like, relax. Her and I were just having a good time. We're about to go to bed now. I am not on this brink of spiraling. I'm good. And she's like, fine. She's like, well, I just came down to get water and I'm going back upstairs. But Harley, you really should go to bed soon since we have an early day. He's like, yes, mom. She goes upstairs. I was like, oopsie, sorry, I got you in trouble, or we got each other in trouble. And he was like, you know, I haven't laughed like this or been able to feel like I can be open with someone like this in a very long time. And I was like, oh, Miss Dana don't make you laugh with her hovering? And he was like, no. He was like, she's a fucking ball buster and she's a mood killer. The only time where I can breathe and actually relax is when she goes to Chicago to hang out with her family. And I was like, look, Harley, we just met and I don't want to overstep my boundaries, but we really should revisit this whole idea of maybe sending her away if you think that you are doing okay. I was like, it's been 3 years. I mean, don't you want a little bit more independence in your life to where you can take care of yourself? Because she really is doing everything for you. He was like, yeah, it's something that I've been thinking about, but we'll talk about it later. I'm like, okay. He puts everything away in the dishes and we walk up to the second floor and he stops at the second floor and he just like grabs my arms and like pulls me in to kiss me again. I'm like, whoa, okay, forceful, but all right. He pulls me away and he was like, hey, can we sleep together tonight? And I was like, what? And he's like, no, not like sleep together, sleep together. He was like, can we just fall asleep together? I really want to snuggle and it would bring me a lot of comfort. I was looking at this man and I was like, okay, now y'all. I am a very big advocate, like I've told you all the time, that you only ever do anything that you're comfortable with. If you're in a situation like this, where you're staying with a man or a man's doing something for you, you never have to feel obligated to do anything, obviously. I did feel comfortable at that point, and I felt like I did want to snuggle with this man. I did want to show him some affection because I was feeling very connected to him in that moment. And so I decided to. But if I didn't want to, I would not have done that. So if you're ever in a situation like this and you don't want to, don't do it, babies. You are owed your autonomy no matter what a man is doing for you. You do not owe him your body just because he is doing things for you. So he goes over, he does his little retina scan to open the bank vault into his room. It opens up. The room is huge. You walk in, there's a fireplace, there's couches. He's got 2 walk-in closets. So there's like one and then there's like another one big in the back. And there's a huge ass bathroom with a huge walk-in shower that has 6 nozzles that you could fit like a party of 10 in there, okay? 2 toilets, his and her matching bathroom sets, his big ass bed, and 2 full ass patio views on either side with patio furniture on both, one that looks out the front of the house and another that looks out the back of the house. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get ready for bed and then I'm gonna meet you in here. He was like, great. I go get ready for bed, I come back in and I'm wearing literally like full ass pajamas. I usually sleep naked, y'all, but obviously because this was going to be just a snuggle sesh and I told him that if I felt uncomfortable at any point I was gonna leave and he said yes. So I was wearing my full ass pajama suit of armor. I was wearing a long sleeve t-shirt and pajama pants. I get in the bed. He was like, okay, I need to get suited up for bed. I'm like, suited up? And he was like, yeah. And he was just in his boxers and he put on headphones and an eye mask. He goes, okay, good night. I'm like, okay. He turns back over and he lifts one of his things and he goes, oh, by the way, I like being the little spoon. I'm like, okay. I roll over and I'm like spooning this man. We fall asleep. I wake up in the middle of the night to feel someone thrashing next to me and whimpering very loudly. I am like disoriented. And you know how sometimes when you fall asleep in a place that you're not used to, you kind of like are like, wait, where am I? I like wake up, I'm like, where the hell am I? I look around, the room is pitch ass black because he does have a little button that he presses to make all the windows go down, obviously, and the bank vault is closed. And I look over and I just see this man shaking and sweating next to me, whimpering, going like, I'm like shaking him and he goes, no, no. I was like, oh my God, this man is having a full ass night terror right next to me and thrashing about, y'all. First time sleeping next to him after he wanted me to big spoon his ass. So next episode, y'all, am I the one that calms this man down or do I need to call Dana? He takes me to the Real. And the reason he was taking me to the Real, y'all, is because I am a vintage designer girly, and I told him that when I met him. And I love luxury items. I try to buy vintage or secondhand as much as possible. He was like, great. He was like, I can take you to the Real. If you don't find what you're looking for there, then we can go to the stores. So that's what we did the next day. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I love you and I see you. Big hug, big kiss. Storytime, My Month with a Billionaire, episode 10. So this man is shaking next to me, having a very clear night terror. I used to have them myself, so I know what they look like. I was like, oh God, he's shaking over there, like kind of quivering. And I'm just like petting him. I'm like, Harley, you're okay, you're okay, you're okay. He finally, after maybe like 30 seconds of shaking and kind of thrashing about, ends up finally calming down and he just like goes right back to sleep. I am now alarmed and I turn over to the side away from him in the King Cali bed and I scoot to the farthest away because I don't want to accidentally get punched in my sleep. And I turn over and I fall back asleep. Now, y'all, your girl can sleep through a lot. I need to be woken up. I will literally sleep as long as you will let me. Like, my ass loves her some sleep. But I had set an alarm because I knew that I wanted to wake up around like 9 or 8 so that I could get an early day into looking at places. So my alarm goes off and I'm kind of opening up my eyes and I look around and I see that all the window blinds are open. I look over to my left and there's nobody there, but Harley's side is made up. So I'm just like on the side and it's all messy. And then his side is all made up with even the plush pillows, like the throw pillows, the colorful little Navajo throw pillows on it. And I'm like, interesting. I like kind of sit up and grab my glasses from the side because your girl's blind. I put on my glasses. I'm kind of looking around the room and taking everything in. I'm like, what a lovely day to wake up in a beautiful mansion. I get up and I walk downstairs and I can smell some delicious smells coming from downstairs, y'all. I walk into the kitchen and there is a dude, probably in his like late 20s, very good shape, like nice arms and everything, cooking up some breakfast. I look over and there's a whole spread, y'all, on the table. There's like chocolate pancakes, there's eggs, there's bacon, there's sausages, eggs every type of way. There's chilaquiles, there's breakfast tacos. I'm like, sir, are you literally cooking for like an army of people? And he's like, oh, you must be Miss Cat. And I was like, that would be me. And he was like, I hope you're hungry. I was like, girl, I was like, if I wasn't hungry, I'm definitely hungry now. He makes me some black coffee. He's like, I heard you drink your coffee black, so I've made you some over here. And you can also have a cold brew. I can also make you that. I was like, I will have both because I definitely need coffee like it's injected into my arm and into my soul and in my bloodstream so that I can wake the hell up. I'm like looking around and no one else is around. And he's like, oh, Harley and Dana have left for the day. Harley instructed me to make sure to feed you and I'll just be around if you need any snacks or anything. If you want me to pack you like a lunch or snacks because I know you have a long day that you're going to be out today looking for apartments. And Maria is around here as well, just cleaning up stuff. I'm like, okay, great. I'm kind of chatting with him. We're going to call him Drew, Chef Drew. And Chef Drew has a lovely South African accent and is a very, very sweet guy. And he's telling me that he's been working for Harley for like 7 years now and he's come and gone. And he's like, oh, how did you guys meet? And how do y'all know each other? And how long have you met? I was like, oh, we actually met on Riot and we were talking for a few weeks over FaceTime and we just met the other day in real life. And he was like, wow. He's like, okay, I've never heard of that happening. And I'm like, yep, well, he's like, okay, cool. I get dressed in this little white tank top in his big ass, huge, wonderful, gorgeous bathroom. And also I forgot to mention that the entire house has heated floors that you can control the temperature of each floor on each floor. So in the bathroom, the marble floors, heated, lovely, gorgeous. I could lay on the freaking things and there's speakers in every room as well. I get ready in the little white tank and I wear some little capris. I go down and I see that Harley has left me a note with instructions on how to close the bank gate, where the keys are for the Audi, and the code to get in the gate and all that. I go back upstairs to close the bank gate, which you have to do from the inside. You punch in a little code and then you walk out and then the bank gate closes. I walk downstairs, I say bye to Chef Drew, I grab the keys for the Audi and I get in there and I am twerking my way around town, going to all my different appointments to look at different places and everything like that. Probably around midday, I get a text from Harley. He's asking me how things are going on my little search. And he's saying that if I'm already done, that I can meet him at the Real Real in West Hollywood mid-afternoon. He's going to take a little break from his meetings. We can meet there because WeHo is midway between Encino, where he lives, and Hollywood and Silver Lake, the areas I was looking. So it's a lot easier for me to go and meet him there rather than me going all the way to Encino. So we go to the Real Real. So this Real Real in West Hollywood, y'all. The Real Real is known for having a very big collection of vintage luxury items. Most of their stuff is online. So there's only some things in the Beverly Hills location. And I knew that I really wanted a vintage Balenciaga bag from the 2000s. And I wanted either a cream one or a gray one. We're walking around and they have obviously some really great stuff. And Harley's pretty distracted. He's like on the phone making phone calls and stuff the whole time. And I'm just pretty much kind of looking at the purses. And a lot of the clothes that they have in stock are like ready to wear things. And they have like one of each thing. And he was like, hey, look, if you can't find anything that you really love, just let me know. And then we can go to the actual stores sometime this week. I'm like, okay, great. I end up finding a Balenciaga bag that I do really love. And it is this beautiful, big, buttery one. And I was so happy because it was in really great condition. It didn't have any yellowing. It was gorgeous and white. And I was like, oh, I really like this. I'm going to go and try more things on. And then he gets off the phone and he's like, hey, beautiful, I have to go to my meeting, so we need to wrap this up. I'm like, okay. So I just grabbed this one bag. I'm like, all right, well, I'll just get this bag. I wanted to try some clothes on though too. And he was like, don't worry, I'm going to just take you to like regular stores later. We'll just get that bag for now. And then you can go home and I'll meet you at home later. And then we can have dinner and figure out the rest of our week. I'm like, okay, great. He pays, we walk out, he's on the phone again, and he gives me a kiss on the cheek, and he's like, I'll meet you at the Encino house. Later, I have to go to another meeting and then I go to the doctor, and so I'll just see you there later. I'll let you know what time I'm going to be home, and then we can figure out what we want to do for dinner. I'm like, okay, great. I make the drive back to Encino. It's probably like a 35-minute drive at that time from WeHo. I'm so excited about my bag, y'all. I'm like, yay, it's the perfect size. I have only small bags, and now I have this nice like bag to take things around and trollop around the city with. I walk into his house, y'all. As I'm walking in, I hear a girl's voice, and I hear Maria. And I hear a girl laughing, and I hear Maria, and they're like chatting about stuff. And I'm just kind of getting the vibe that at Harley's house, it's like a place where people just kind of come and go, his friends or whoever. So I'm like, oh, I wonder who that is. I walk in, and at the kitchen medium, I see Chef Drew making some snacks on the table. He's got some smoothies that he's made of all different colors. And Maria's standing there chatting with a girl. I see from the back, the girl has like golden blonde hair. And she's wearing Aloe workout gear with these big fuzzy knee-high boots. I was like, oh, that's a choice. And she's got a huge Louis Vuitton Speedy multicolored Takeshi bag on the counter, and then a Louis Vuitton carry-on luggage sitting next to her feet. I'm like, who is this? Maria goes, oh, hey, Kat. The girl turns. I look at her, and I'm like, you look so weirdly familiar, but I can't place you. She looks at me, and she goes, oh, you're Kat. I was like, yes. And she goes, hi. And we're going to call her Kristen. She goes, I'm Kristen. And I was like, hi, Kristen. As soon as she says her name, I realize where I know this girl from. She's an influencer. And I've definitely seen her stuff on social media, and she has a pretty decent following, and I recognized her. And I'm like, oh, interesting. And she goes, is Harley with you? I said, no, we were just at the Real Real. And she goes, oh, I can't believe you went to the Real without me. And I was like, yeah. She's like, what'd you get? I'm like, oh, I got this. I show her the bag. And she's like, oh, cute. She's like, okay, well, thanks for the smoothies, Chef Drew. Like, I'm going to go to my room and take a nap. I've just had a really long flight. And then I'm going out to the Nice Guy tonight with friends for dinner. And then she looks at me and she's like, are you and Harley coming tonight? And I was like, I don't know. Random influencer girl in the house that I was not told about. And she's like, okay, well, I'm going to go take a nap. She grabs her big luggages and she walks through, and then she goes into one of the bedrooms on the first floor. I look at Maria and I was like, who is that? And she goes, oh, Kristen, that's Harley's goddaughter. Goddaughter? I said, he didn't tell me she was coming today. And she goes, oh, he probably forgot. She goes, that's typical Harley. So yes, y'all, who is this random influencer who is Harley's goddaughter that is also staying at the house? Does she live there? Like, what's going on here? Stay tuned for episode 11. We will find out what she is doing there, what their relationship is, and more tea on Miss Dana. I love you and I see you. Big hug, big kiss.